리그 오브 레전드 플레이어들의 꿈의 무대, 리그 오브 레전드 월드 챔피언십. 5회 연속 월드 챔피언십 트로피를 들어올린 한국 대표팀. 대한민국에서 펼쳐주는 2018 리그 오브 레전드 월드 챔피언십. KT 롤스터, 아프리카 프릭스와 함께 LCK의 자존심을 위해 싸우게 될 팀은 누가 될 것인가? 파이널 라운드, 킹존 드래곤 X와 Gen.G e스포츠의 대결이 시작된다.
젠지는 일단 원딜 선수가 제일 잘한다고 생각은 하는데 5명 다 되게 팀 플레이를 잘하는 것 같아서 모든 선수가 잘하는 것 같아요. 젠지는 저희가 중요한 무대 때 좀 많이 져가지고 꼭 이기고 싶어요. 롤드컵, 저한테 롤드컵은 그냥 제 인생이라고 생각을 하고 거기를 만약 못 가게 된다면은 저의 평가도 엄청 떨어지고 그러니까 저의 인생이라고 생각해요. 저희가 국제 무대에서 좋은 경기력을 보여주지 못했기 때문에 꼭 나가서 해외 팀들 다 이기고 한국 팀도 다 이기고 싶어요.
Greetings and welcome everybody to Seoul, South Korea, the LCK Regional Qualifiers, the final round. It's going to be Gen.G up against Kingzone DragonX. It's me, Valdez, with Papa Smithy to bring you one final best of 5 to determine our last Korean team in Worlds.
2 days removed from Griffin being eliminated by Gen.G on that Super Friday. Now we've got the Super Sunday, Valdez. 4 teams will lock their spots today around the world. Everyone except the LMS of the major regions locks it in today, that 3rd seed. So interesting to see who will join KT Rolster and Afrika Freaks. Gen.G, they're in a great run of form. They've got that record in history. But speaking of history, since 2013, the team that won Spring has made Worlds from Korea. Of course, that was way back when Samsung Ozone into Samsung Blue, into SK Telecom T1, 3 seasons in a row. Now in 2018, Kingzone DragonX looking like the best team in the world for the entirety of the regular season of Spring. We're what, 3, 4, 5 months removed, and now they have to win a best of 5 or they will not make it.
It's a bit of a sad story for Kingzone and their fans. They're here on the cusp of getting it back into Worlds, but as you mentioned, after MSI, something just snapped, I feel. They came into summer, they looked kind of wobbly. They were up there towards the top, but they were just barely not able to get the important wins, which is why they find themselves having to play in this gauntlet that they could have avoided entirely had they had a better summer. And even BDD was saying, this is my life, the LoL World Championships. I really need to get there and prove to everybody, you know, that I am a fantastic player. Everybody on Kingzone can do it. They want to prove to everybody that they are the better team here. So we see the teams that have made it already around the Worlds, the major regions. You mentioned LCK, LPL, EULCS, and NALCS are going to be playing today. It's a super day of League of Legends to decide which teams are making it to Worlds.
That is the hype part of it. Well, we have 4 best of 5s going 5 games today. So far, NA has been the one disagreeing, going 3 games. We've had so many hype series around the world. Really excited to see who wins today. We're going to have one of the old guard. We will have a team repeat from Worlds 2017 to Worlds 2018. Wasn't looking likely with Griffin's form, but now Griffin's out. One of the old guard are in. So many people will be favoring Gen.G today. But Kingzone, we saw them smash SKT as the last game of the regular season, lose to Afrika in a surprise. But otherwise, in what, 6 weeks, we've seen 1 best of 5 where Afrika Freaks just surprised them on the day. So where are they at? I don't know if anyone knows.
It's really hard to tell. You can look at OPGG for some solo queue numbers, but that really doesn't tell any of the stories. You would need to know what's going on in scrims. Are they in tune with the meta? Are the players playing to their top form? Because Gen.G have proven that if you are not the best team on the day, they are going to crush you. SKT getting close in 2 games. Griffin also getting incredibly close here. But now it's up to KingZone DragonX on one best-of-5 day to make it into Worlds. This is not where they want it to be. They won Spring, and they won it decisively, 3-1 over FLICKR. But now they've got to defeat Gen.G, which they have a massively losing record in recent times. So we'll see what they can do here. Looking over at KingZone DragonX, it's your normal lineup.
And you look down the bottom, you don't need translations to know that this is all about the Worlds they qualified for. Prey, every Worlds when he was an active player, he has qualified for. 2014 summer, he had retired, came back on the Coup Tigers, and the rest is history. But it's looking like that streak, and all these other players, count the amount of Worlds appearances there are here. There are so many. With Khan and BDD, the New Blood, and Peanut, Prey, and Gorilla, now seasoned veterans. We're so interested to see where they're at, because first place Spring, where they looked unparalleled, feels like a really long time ago.
It really does. I mean, we've played so many best of series here in Korea since that moment. April 14th or 12th, I believe it was, one of those weekends that we did have that finals on that we casted, but they've got to make it back here in summer in the regional qualifiers and go up against a Gen.G team that honestly looks incredibly strong.
Got to agree with you there, Valdez. We're going to introduce Gen.G now. The lineup, you can see Crown and Haru poking over their monitors. No change on the roster that needed 5 games to get over Griffin. Wonderful series a couple of days ago. This is now their new roster. Haru, a bit part player for basically the entire year and the better part of a year and a half, is now going to be starting. And to me, Haru versus Peanut is one of those really exciting matchups, because if I have to pick mechanically talented junglers who can play the aggressive side rather than just the farming junglers, Haru and Peanut are probably top 2.
That they are. I mean, every matchup on this stage, I'm glad that you point out the jungle one. I think that's going to be the most action-packed and the most fun one to watch. But even down in the bottom lane, Ruler and Core JJ coming from Asian games, they didn't have the best reputation after that, but now they proved that, hey, we're actually really good. Prey and Gorilla, they've also been struggling a lot, so a couple of bottom lanes that have been struggling. We'll see if KingZone can rise to a similar level that Ruler and Core JJ have.
And you know who doesn't need to rise? BDD. He has been fantastic all year, and yet he will still remember 1 year ago, Crown being there in the mid lane, playing as Malzahar, BDD trying to attack him in the mid lane, going too far and losing his team games in that 3-game series. The Samsung Galaxy was able to easily prevail over, at the time, Longzhu Gaming. That's the 2017 Worlds round of 8 match where Longzhu were favorites for Worlds and Samsung smacked them out in quarters and went on to become your world champions. Now on Twitter, I said it's 5 series in a row. Actually, have to take back that point. 2-1 was in fact KingZone's in the second round run. They did pay it back. But you can see the texture ever since Worlds. It's been one-sided. I also want to draw your attention to the second round of 2017. That was you and Crumbs casting on the last day of the season.
Yep.
The match that condemned Samsung to 3rd. KingZone then Longzhu finished 1st on the final match of the season. The rest is history in 2 different directions. It's just been a very Samsung into KSV into Gen.G favorite matchup over the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, you say since Worlds, but even before that, that 2017 Summer Round 2 matchup was the only one they won in 2017. So for the last 2 years, it's been KingZone's natural enemy, Gen.G, or Samsung, as SpoTV like to put it here. But KingZone, they're looking to change that around. They really want to get revenge tonight. Let's take a look at some trivia.
Isn't it interesting? It's been 333 days already since the Worlds quarterfinals. Lets you know that Worlds is definitely around the corner. We only have promotions after this. This is the end of the top tier here in Korea. Lot to think about between these 2 teams. Some different members. Ambition not there to control Peanut. Feels like Haru's going to ignite the same match and take it to Peanut in a different way in the jungle. But otherwise, there's a lot of seasoned matchups here. And there's just so many questions about 2 teams, honestly, that are on a redemptive arc. Our world champions who got nothing done in spring and summer. And then our spring champions who've had nothing to smile about since they went over to MSI.
That's definitely a big one here. Only one of the teams that made it to 2017 Worlds is going to be in Worlds for 2018. Another cool story from Korea. Other teams, KT and FLICKR, making it this time alongside one of these 2 teams. and Gen.G making it, I mean, former Samsung, make it all the time through qualifiers, 2 years in a row. They're looking for their 3rd year now in a row. It seems like that gauntlet buff has not left them just yet.
Can see a little bit of nerves, even on as experienced as a player as Peanut. We're getting that confirmation. We're ready to load into this.
Looks like we're ready, Papa. Jump into pick ban for game number 1.
Bans here are very interesting. Now, first thing to note, Kingzone come in higher seed. They were the final boss of the Regional Gauntlet. They start on red side, and I love this ban we're seeing from Kingzone. You might say, a Lissandra ban, first round, what's going on? If you look at BDD's champion pool and solo queue, it is all melee assassins and melee carries, and Lissandra's a champion you can blind pick against melee carries, and at worst, it's a very gankable lane. At best, it can really stuff a lot of engage. The Camille ban's another smart one. You and I were discussing this. Camille feels like a natural first pick for Gen.G. Haru is undefeated from the jungle, and it works against other combat junglers, and also Khan's champion pools carries. Of all the melee champions with engage, you can play topside. Camille with ganks beats the carries, so I love the Camille ban, and so far I think Kingzone have done some great research.
Yep, love the research. Fantastic targeted bans. Crown, remember, he was picking Lissandra into many, many different matchups. By the way, we have some special guests here tonight, guys. So as Caps and Reckless making their way down, you know, playing in solo queue. I've seen them playing a bit on track in the pros, and seems like they always love to be here in Korea. So happy to have them here listening to the broadcast.
And there's only going to be more, right? ULCS finalists, and winning that final over Schalke means that they're here early, but everyone will come to scrim because we're even in Korea this year for the World Championships. The pick and ban is done. When it comes to the first round of bans, Aatrox's first pick. See who that's for. Probably Cuvée, you'd imagine. Kingzone DragonX, the first sighting of them post the Urgot meta. We will see Urgot first pick. What about jungle here? I think Nocturne this early would be very bold. Kingzone have a lot of things they've been practicing, no doubt. They'll hover the Nocturne, but lock in the Zoe for BD's 11-2 on the pick in summer.
And then you look at Crown on the opposite side. He's 3-0, right? He hasn't played all that much, but it's a champion that he's undefeated on. So just like that, you pick up a good pick for your mid laner.
Hey.
And now Crown might just be going back to old-time comfort. Good old Malzahar back on the Rift.
And that's what you expect. He can't go Lissandra into a melee champ. He knows the matchup now, and it's one that Malzahar has been able to win in the past, especially with jungle attention. So it's going to be Malzahar. I'm sure he thought about Syndra for a half second, but went to the Malzahar here. Back on the Malzahar duty, and the Alistar for Core JJ is another notable pick. Been popping off on this in recent memory.
We talked about how he played, what was it, 70 games of Alistar in a row in solo queue. This guy is one of the cleanest Alistars we have right now in Korea. It's part of the reason they have the really clean engage from the support position. Kingzone here going to pick up Gragas as the last pick of the first phase.
So Kingzone, again, chose red side. We've seen a lot of people choose blue. If you look back at the last 2 series, we had Gen.G play 5 games on blue side and then 5 games on red side against Griffin. And now Kingzone is forcing them onto blue. Haru's AP jungle Gragas has been one of his big calling cards recently. The Camille's ban, the Gragas taken away. For Kingzone, remember this can be a flex pick. Gorilla's been practicing it in solo queue a lot, inspired by Ming's great games at the Asia Games. Could definitely be jungle for Peanut, but he's not quite the top tier of jungle Gragas player compared to Score and Ambition, and even Haru's recent games.
After this first phase of picks and not much focus on the bottom lane outside of Alistar, we're seeing this 80 carry champion pool be cut away. Both Ruler and Prey, obviously fantastic asses, but the Varus is also taken away. With the recent lack of Ezreal that we're seeing, we see all these other picks being taken away right now.
Sivir ban, Ruler's played it once, but to me this is saying Kai'Sa, right? Because Kai'Sa is the one that you can play Sivir into according to much conventional logic. The Braum ban is definitely an old pick for a guy. He's only played 1 game of it all season. I guess they don't want to give over Braum Kai'Sa. But with the Sivir ban, you knew it would be a Kai'Sa in the bot lane for Prey. He does lock it in.
Tristana is going to be locked in right away for Ruler. I was thinking perhaps we'd see the return of the Xayah. He looks so good on it. Actually carried in game 5, but that was Xayah Rakan, right? Want to go with something a little bit more aggressive. Tristana Alistar that classic bottom lane.
And we will see the Olaf jungle here from Haru, keeping up the aggression. Over on the side of Kingzone, we mentioned the potential to flex the Gragas bot lane. The Trundle jungle would certainly be a sign of that. We see it locked in here. This is the matchup that, of course, brought out Trundle earlier in the year as a pick into the Olaf. We've seen it go both ways, but if Trundle's ahead of the curve, ahead of the pathing, he will be the one to win. So it is the Gragas bot lane. On paper, it is not a bot lane that really jumps out at you as laning priority, but Gragas has gone up the support tier list ever since Ming showed it off. And we will see Gragas Kai'Sa, the sort of lane that can definitely pop off from ahead.
This is going to be Haru's actual first game of Olaf that we have seen from him in summer, so bringing that out new. You can see him doing a little bit of flexing. They took away his Camille. He didn't want to play the Xin. Thought about the Trundle. He's 3-0 on that pick, but decided against it. Trundle actually Peanut's most played this summer at 5-3.
138 career games for Haru across a couple of teams. Of course, started on CJ Enters. Actually, only one game ever of Olaf, even though it fits his style of aggressive jungle. He's 1-0, but it was, as you say, not this season. No surprise he can play the Olaf, a matchup we know and love. What will happen here in game one? Khan on the Urgot. Not going to be a mid lane Urgot to start things off. Kingzone on the Urgot meta. Kingzone bringing back that support Gragas as a change from them. Prey and Gorilla, the bot lane 2v2. How's it going to look? Because Prey's performance has drawn the most criticism from Korean fans of all of the Kingzone woes of recent memory.
Yeah, and he's going up against a guy that BDD said was the best on his team. Ruler in the bottom side, now going to bring us a new pick for him, I should say. Seeing play across the board elsewhere from time to time. Ruler's going to give it a shot now on the bottom side with Alistar. We'll see if they can get that going. Countdown has started, guys. Let's jump into game number one. Kingzone up against Gen.G.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Sometimes it takes a while for us to fill up, but when it's Kingzone DragonX, our double LCK champions before they wavered in summer, and our world champions in Gen.G with so many famous players in the Rift on game number one. We're full up already, Valdez.
Makes sense. It's a Sunday, too, so it's a weekend. Everybody's free, coming down to watch their favorite teams go head-to-head.
And it's a road to redemption, you'd have to say, for both teams. The Kingzone DragonX side has been the more discussed because, of course, since spring final, they have really wavered. Feels like the team that was sent to MSI never got back, and they have certainly been a lot more wayward in summer, and, of course, their international performances has, let's say, lost them a lot of neutral support. They'll still have their hardcore fans, but it feels like the neutrals that just band together to support the Korean team that represents are now no longer as confident in Kingzone DragonX. It used to be, if you win in Korea consistently, you win in the international stage, and Kingzone weren't able to show that. Meanwhile, Gen.G, our world champions, finished 5th into 5th, so haven't been able to find anything domestically. Want to make it back to Worlds to show that that is their true playground.
Curious to see just how aggressive they get in the bottom side here. The Tristana Alistar combination that you can go for. Still a thing down here, but obviously that late game with the massive range that Tristana can bring makes her a more appetizing choice compared to Caitlyn. We saw Caitlyn Morgana twice from Griffin. Didn't quite work out in that series.
So interesting start here. Peanut had a ward topside on the Scuttle, wants to avoid Olaf at level 2, level 3, and went big buff, big buff. Started in to the Hunter's Machete, went red, blue into getting a bot side Scuttle. He doesn't want to get double scuttled, so he's not level 3. But Haru himself actually getting the end of the patience here of the red buff, will be able to take it, but very defensive start for the Olaf, despite maybe conventional logic.
Yeah, both these guys just want to avoid each other for now, it looks like. Just going into that farming phase. We talked about how it should be action-packed, but we're going to have to wait a little bit before that does hit the Rift. Speaking of which, we've seen a lot of Urgot versus Aatrox in the top side. Both sides winning at different points.
In Korea, in that recent match 2 days ago, the best of 5, Sword versus Cuvée. Cuvée was winning the matchup pretty much every time with jungle and intervention or no. Now it's Khan on the pick, who is a bit more praised for his laning phase than Sword. So is it going to be the nameplate, or is it just going to be the matchup that's evolving here? Again, with where balance is right now, we could be seeing a lot of Aatrox versus Urgot at the World Championships. So any more data points between great top laners is definitely welcomed by me.
Definitely like that. Also got eyes on the mid lane. Crown returning to that kind of alt bot champion in the Malzahar. Said he's not a big fan. He wants to be a little bit more aggressive, have more of a impact on the play, I suppose, instead of just pressing one button. It's pretty good into the Zoe as well. You can lock her down after her portal jump. So we'll see if Haru visits the mid lane with his Predator on that Gragas. Very common pick nowadays.
Speaking of Predator, we see Predator on Olaf available to be used. He's finding the Trundle right now. Not going to be able to find anything from that just yet. We're still on 8:15, guys, by the way, with Akali enabled compared to the LCK playoffs. One thing of note is that Electrocute nerf actually was 8:16, so Electrocute is still full power. And Haru is one of those Electrocute Gragas players still, rather than Spirit and everyone else who prefer the Predator.
So far, not much going on here. Peanut and Haru just shadowing each other up in the top side. Saying hello, but actually the vision control goes massively to the side of Haru as Kive was pushing up there. Everything else pretty even outside of the mid lane, where BDD has gotten a small lead in CS.
Comps here are a little bit different to some of our more conventional comps we've seen in recent memory. Think of Kai'Sa comps, you think of heavy CC, Ornn top lane, Urgot. It kind of fits the role, but it's definitely not Ornn when it comes to setting up plasmas. We see Galio mid lane. In this case, there is pick CC and a Kai'Sa rather than, say, teamfight Wombo and a Kai'Sa. So it's not as much set it up and then she will Wombo them down. And Malzahar lets you know there's plenty of pick on the side of Gen.G as well. Speaking of pick, this is what happens in this matchup. You can attack the lane, but speaking of being attacked.
Oh boy, BDD getting pretty aggressive, but he lands it and dodges the axe. Is able to get out of there. Haru not level 6, so he cannot follow up.
Fantastic gank timing by Haru, but the skipping is just enough to stop BDD going down. Crown himself getting very aggressive. I think back all the way to the Syndra versus Malzahar matchup, the first game of the World's quarterfinals, where it was a blind pick Malzahar. BDD had license to punish Crown on the day, but he went too far, died in lane, and got ganked too much. And his exuberance was one of the reasons Longzhu could not beat Samsung Galaxy at the time. Now, once again, he's able to attack, but the first time he goes super aggressive, Haru's there to punish.
Yeah, we're talking about that gank timing. Now it's opened up the jungle for Haru as well. He's able to get that first Scuttle Crab after Peanut did get the first 2, and he's about to hit level 6 after that bottom side camp, I would imagine. So we'll see where he decides to gank afterwards.
BDD is likely today to be feeling a lot of pressure. Again, we've been talking about where fan sentiment is at, because of course, when you fail internationally, someone has to be blamed. That's unfortunately the reality of how the community will always react, and feels like BDD is the only one who's escaped criticism all year. He's been in great form, especially at the end of summer. He had so many pop-off performances in a row, but wasn't able to make it happen against a FLICKR Freaks. And now with another critical best of 5, Kingzone DragonX in critical matches have fallen down multiple times in a row. Sure, BDD is feeling that he needs to pay off all of that confidence with a big performance against Crown, who mostly with his Lissandra games into now a Malzahar game, is playing the same role he did 1 year ago.
Take a look at this. No flash on BDD. We got flash ultimate from Crown. Peanut is nearby. Look at how patient BDD is being. He knows that this potential gank could come in. Decides, hey, I'm not even going to step forward. Good passive play here from BDD.
Doesn't feel good. You want to be attacking the Malzahar. Malzahar's laning pre-level 9 is his biggest weakness. After that is the pick factory that we know all about. Has gone for Summoner Aerie for a bit more laning here. Didn't go for Predator or something like Unsealed Spellbook on the Malzahar. We've seen from other people that BDD paying the price of his flash being down. Just has to sit back and wave clear. Speaking of wave clearing, Cuvée getting that free lane, and we saw some pretty big sweet spots open up from his Aatrox in that last series, critting people for 720 and then some. And because of that, giving Aatrox a free lane mid or top always doesn't feel like the best.
Notice that we saw a lot of first picking on the Urgot and trading that for the Aatrox, but now Gen.G seemed to have a good read on picking the Aatrox first into the Urgot that they know is coming. Decided that, hey, this is the better matchup for us, the better side of the matchup, I should say.
And the bans also played into that. We were thinking about first pick Camille, banned by Kingzone DragonX. Zyra Rakan almost every game towards the end. That's going to be 4 games in a row. Rakan banned away. It's all about the trades here, with Kingzone choosing red side. Not so much about the trades of jungle farm anymore. There are equal numbers, but min-maxing in terms of experience advantage definitely goes to Haru.
That it has. The Gen.G of old, that scaling, you know, passive play has been tuned up a little bit with Haru and Crown making their way onto the Rift, but so far for this game, it's just been sitting back, farming up. They haven't really had too many opportunities outside of the BDD gank. And Haru now, after hitting level 6, gonna pick up his red buff and still waiting for that first blood onto the Rift.
Very interesting to see where this game goes. It gets longer. We'll draw your attention to a keystone choice on the side of Ruler. Has gone press the attack Tristana. First of all, this in Challenger in Korea, and it's been played also the LPL. I saw Abel doing it over there for RNG. Just a choice here where you can get some really nice trades in the laning phase. Get 3, 4, 5 points into the explosive shot. Get the autos in to pump that up, and also proc the press the attack for the explosion damage. So a bit more lane presence for the Tristana. Doesn't need too much help in the late game if she gets through the laning phase.
We got the Ocean Drake start here. Haru with this red buff and jungle item. Gonna be going for this. Pretty free. He does have some vision, regular ward in the Pixel Brush, as well as a control ward around this area. The pushing bot lane, as well as the mid lane, as BDD just now is gonna get his flash. Means that it should be a pretty free Ocean Drake, and this is good. I mean, the laning phase still going on. Everybody knows about Ocean Drake for the laning phase. It's pretty good.
Likely priority was going to be mid lane, but the flash being down stopped that. We're seeing a lane swap here, so early back they knew the Drake was being started. Got the Storm Razor and going straight to top side to help Urgot and get a structure, get something started for Kingzone DragonX. I like this proactive answer. It is a reaction, but it's a proactive one, trying to find an advantage on the map. They're feeling good about fighting soon. And speaking of fighting,
trying to bait him in, gets the flip on over, waiting for that World Ender. Now it's 1-on-3, but he's gonna pull him all the way back. Still got flash here on Cube. Can he get away? He's able to dash after him, but the cast is able to go over the head. First blood goes over to Gorilla, and Haru himself can have to flash away. Subjugate onto Crown now, as the rest of Gen.G are a little bit late to come up to the top side. Gonna be a good fight there for Kingzone.
Really good lane swap here that surprised Cube and then some. He's full on brawling with no information of where the enemy duo lane was. Probably could have been called by the duo lane saying, wait, they're taking a lot longer to get back to lane. I don't think they're waiting for an item. Nobody in competitive play waits for 30 gold, 40 gold anymore. And so they just don't expect it. There's a deep lane ward, but consider when Kai'Sa's being spotted. It's now. That's when Kai'Sa's being spotted. Cube still takes 1 aggressive Q, and it's 1 too many. The flip opens up the killer instinct, and they use the ult there just to stop him opening up distance. Gragas rolls in, throws down the ultimate. Haru was doing that all the time against Griffin. Yeah. They get the first kill. The teleport's really late from Crown. Very good set-piece play. This sort of set-piece play, again, following on from the Tristana being shades of RNG. We see this from Uzi on the side of RNG a lot when he's in a Kai'Sa lane. That's usually to either answer an Urgot, but in this case it was just, well, we don't have bot side control. The Drake going down is a great sign of that. Let's get control somewhere. Also, around the same time, the Rift Herald spawns. Really like it, and Gen.G too slow to work it out.
That's one thing that seemingly always works up against Gen.G is to get in their face and be proactive and make plays like this. But now Gen.G has reacted. They sent their own bottom lane up to the top side. Love the vision control here by Kingzone around the Rift Herald. They know the next Drake going to be an Ocean Drake, not so big. They would love to pick up that Rift Herald if possible.
I love the parallel lines. 3 in a row from Kingzone, 2 from Gen.G, now 3. They have very similar areas of control, and it's safer for Gen.G to pop over and clear some of those wards. And if you control the river, this man on your screen, Crown, can show up. He doesn't really have any ability power, just got a lost chapter, but working towards some damage. 50-50 farming is fine for both AD carries, but CoreJJ.
Oh, nice play over the wall. Looking for Gorilla here. They take him down in the end. CoreJJ still has his ultimate up and running. We talked about his Alistar. BDD trying to punish him on the backside with the Ignite. Looks like he should survive. But either way, that clean Alistar makes a return to the Rift.
That's the CoreJJ we know and love on the Alistar. He's actually able to get the flash headbutt pulled off before the Trouble Bubble actually armed. There was a very small window there, but he ends up not having to eat Humble Pie. But Kingzone make a nice rotation through mid lane, knowing that multiple members of Gen.G were out of position.
Yeah, both TPs for the top laners were down. Khan is the first one to rotate. Cube just going ahead down on the bottom side, but the mid turret going to be a much bigger objective, and it's the first blood turret that does go over to Kingzone.
And you feel so good about making Malzahar predictable because it's him showing up that usually is the start of problems. Speaking of problems, Kingzone at least going to try and answer Vision, but probably no more. As, I think Gorilla's gone too far.
Yeah, it looks like he has just a little bit here. Haru going to dunk him on his way out. So it's going to be another kill. And this is the Tristana going pretty aggressive once again, pushing Prey away from the lane. They may even consider going for this top turret now.
Stormrazor pressed the attack. Tristana does way more damage than you remember Tristana doing at one item. Gonna see the Tristana keep pushing, and this could be a 2-for-1 trade extended, even though the rotation play from Kingzone and mid looks so clean. Gorilla getting caught removes any advantage from the side of Kingzone.
It's a bit unfortunate, but the support Gragas is just not going to have the stats that a jungle Gragas or a top Gragas is going to have. He's going to be lower on levels, and if you use your body slam and you don't have your flash, you get caught by the Olaf or anybody else, you could be dead meat if there's any follow-up.
But this is a really good sign for the series because we've actually seen a very high-level 15 minutes with Next Level. Next Level is proactive plays as a reaction, and then actually pulling off a cleaner reaction to that with the 2 turrets on the side of Gen.G. We're trading smart moves between Kingzone and Gen.G. And I don't know where the series will end up if we get 5 games of this. The signs so far are it's going to be a very close-knit series between Gen.G and Kingzone.
Korea this year has been all about those 5-game series, especially in the gauntlet so far. We have had 2 of them in a row, and this seems to be the most even matchup. But take a look at CoreJJ's play once again.
So he's hit by the Trouble Bubble. Here it comes through the wall. He has 1 second to do this play, but Flash Headbutt Pulverize, not the longest range. That was full range headbutt. Maybe he actually wouldn't be able to press the Q button. Certainly the buttons were pressed. There was no heal, but he doesn't burn down to the Ignite. Gorilla's mistake afterwards was the big problem, though, going down too easily. Now Gen.G with their priority, with 2 outer turrets down, they want the Rift Herald as well.
Just a couple of members of Kingzone going back, and even with Vision, they're going to take out the Control Ward and take the Rift Heralds. And there's not much that Kingzone can do about it. Already 2 kills onto Haru. He's going to add a Rift Herald to that one, and there's only 1 outer turret left over. You could just use it here in the mid lane. 1 charge will do the trick.
Then Zoe, just like we were talking about Malzahar, will be so much more predictable. Looking for a pick on CoreJJ. He's obviously tanky.
Has his ultimate, the double knock-up here from Kyubey, but a cask is going to push everybody back. Khan still looking for it. The ultimate on top. A crown here is going to be forced to flash away, as is Haru. Not going to use his flash, but just running out of this one. Kingzone trying to catch him here is not successful.
They're being feisty, but they're not really being controlled. They're firing out ultimates, looking for something rather than cementing something. Ult used there by Khan, hoping there could be burst damage, but there's no one else than him able to be in range to do damage to Malzahar. TP coming in, Ocean Drake at 1,000.
Kyubey certainly thinking about this one, is already going to pop his World Ender on top of Peanut, who is going to be able to flash that wall. Going to trade the flash for that Ocean Drake in the end, but they're out of position now. We could just have Haru put down the Rift Herald in the mid lane and get a free charge off.
And that's another good use there. Don't know if it's a Haru thing or a Gen.G call, but the charge in a couple of autos will take down this turret. Kingzone going to give it up. 3 outer turrets down at 17 minutes. They had priority in 2 lanes. This is pretty much a disaster on paper for Kingzone. Gold lead also goes up to about 2,000.
Yeah, and it's not just the outer turret. We have a TP coming in, but already Shelly
What's
getting the
Urgot
work
doing?
there. I'm not so sure. They're fighting over the red buff. It's almost like Haru and Crown are distracting Khan here, but now you got this inner turret on super low health.
He was on the golems at the top. That's a very interesting thing. I guess he just thought he was taking golems and going to top lane, but No one was dealing with the Rift Herald, and Shelly is always a snowballing problem. It's not the snowball you usually talk about, but it's one. Gets some nice advantages to the side of Gen.G. Do note that both of the 80 carries are running teleport this game. Prey just used his to get to mid lane. But after being ahead of the play for what, the first 10 minutes or so, at least making some nice plays with Kingzone, now they're firmly behind Gen.G. And now with 3 out of turrets down, you kind of have to just march to the enemy's drum when you're this far behind in turrets early.
Yeah, it's definitely not the first showing that Kingzone wanted to give to their fans and to everybody that are doubting them. We saw that BDD trying his hardest to snipe the Alistar on the back of the play earlier up at top lane, not able to net himself a kill, but he's trying his heart out. The rest of his team really have to pick it up here, but already in the bottom lane, they have that Kai'Sa, but Ruler's 30 CS ahead with two extra assists. Gonna be feeling good about that matchup. The Aatrox is a little bit behind on the Urgot, but still going to be a massive force later on in the game.
And remember that Urgot this game is dealing with mixed damage threats, so he actually needs Righteous Glory and his magic resist item to be a bouncer, to be able to play around a carry and peel for them. Speaking of the Urgot though.
Okay, they even have the exhaust here. Gonna trade the exhaust from the spell book for Cuve's flash and his ult. Just freaking out there a little bit. I know you guys have experienced that before.
The jump scare, as I like to think about. It's not quite Scream, but it certainly makes you scream mentally at least. Pushing lane and topside, Crown ushers in minions. That's actually the Predator popped. I think this is a rotational Predator. They want to get this mid lane in a turret. Most of it is down, but the minion wave isn't supporting them just yet.
So Kingzone and Khan going to be first on the rotation, but actually Crown going 1v1 onto Prey here. Will it tick down onto him? No. Prey is able to get out of that one, but has to blow his flash.
And that was no flash necessary, just a face check coming through from Prey. I guess he wanted to get into killer instinct range, but took far too bold a path through his enemy red side. I say the enemy red side jungler, feels like it now, of course, the red side jungle of Kingzone, because Gen.G have controlled it for so long. Zoe's under turret, wave clearing, she's not poking anyone down with trouble bubbles. Prey's getting caught between lanes. This game is completely being run by Gen.G.
And that was the question we had to ask coming into the series. Kingzone, we haven't seen them in about a month. What is their level going to be? Gen.G, they prove in 2 best-of-5s that they are on top of it. What can Kingzone do in this series so far? This looks like the most one-sided series that Gen.G has had to play, which is saying something considering SKT was their first matchup. Either way, Kingzone, they're going to have to change up the way this game is going because it's not looking good so far.
Definitely when it comes to macro outplays, I'll agree. Of course, we can't forget that SKT exploded Gen.G in that game 3 of that first series. That was the 22-minute victory. Not quite to that level yet, but it does feel like Gen.G are a step ahead, apart from, of course, the nice lane swap coming through from Kingzone earlier. So nice stuff from Gen.G. They're starting to control the map. Kingzone's defensive vision has always been a good point for their team, and their vision is still good. They're not giving up anything. It feels like one flash, another ult from the Malzahar later, this game is going to change, and Kingzone also have to pay their taxes and get the QSSs despite being 3,000 gold down.
Yeah, maybe Crown is not a huge fan of the Malzahar, but it's had a pretty good impact in the game so far. After getting the flash earlier on the Zoe and winning that lane, essentially getting control of that lane, and then now having, you know, Prey flash and just being a menace up in the top lane with his own teleport, able to split push. It's been a good pick for Crown historically, and well, I guess we're going to see more of it, especially because his Vel'Koz so far is 0-3.
And I want to draw your attention to the CS numbers as well. In every role except top, the CS is being won by Gen.G, and you could also just include the jungle CS there to make up for the slight disadvantage for Cuve. There's just a lot of minions when you have 3 turrets down and you lose control of your own jungle that are lost to turrets that you can't get to as Kingzone. We saw Prey try to take a direct path between turrets and almost die to Malzahar in one rotation. So Kingzone have to be respectful, and when it comes to something like a mid-game, they're losing out, and the gold lead is growing without any real action happening on the Rift.
It's just the feel of you can't even walk into your own jungle, which means that Raptors get taken away, Krugs from time to time, the right side Gromp as Kyuve has his way with that side. We haven't engaged, though. The cask is going to mix, and there we go onto Gorilla, who once again, he's pretty squishy, trying to get that engaged, but one flash away from just not able to do much.
And it just seems so unlikely it was going to lead to anything. Urgot wasn't in position. Kai'Sa can't just zoom in and get Malzahar ulted. Really strange stuff coming through from Gorilla. Lack of synergy between these now veteran players, unfortunately, on full display. And this inner turret, they've kept it alive for a while. It'll go down now.
Gen.G kind of just waltzing their way to a big lead in this game. Going to pick up a second Drake for themselves. But yeah, I said it before, this kind of looks like the easiest game that they've had to play so far. We'll see if Kingzone can change anything. Looking for that play. Actually, BDD going to use that counterfeit flash to get out of this one, but Trouble Bubble onto Ruler. Do they have enough damage?
Yep.
There it is. The ultimate comes out from the Urgot. The rest of Gen.G now, going to be on the run. As KorJJ and Crown not able to do much by themselves. The Ignite comes in, and it looks like it will be enough with the Electrocute proc and the W coming out of BDD. He's so low. Here comes Kyuve looking to go 1v9. He takes out Gorilla, and Malzahar able to take out the Zoe on the backside. Now it's 2 for 2 overall. They're looking for a dive here. Not sure if that's a good idea. And in the end, Kingzone gonna push them back and potentially take a turret.
I believe the bounce off a minion dying had the Malefic Visions hit BDD after popping off at the start. He'll go down, but that's the sort of caster curse I'm all about. Valdez, you said, oh, looks like an easy game. Suddenly Kingzone trying to make it a series. They're just pushing through mid lane. They're getting picks and saying, we're not gonna roll over in game number 1.
Certainly is the case, but again, Ruler in the front line. They were trying to go for an engage, but he gets hit by a Trouble Bubble.
This is a long way back. We rewind a long way back. BDD thankfully doesn't have to use his real flash, but the Trouble Bubble hitting is really big for their side. They can reposition. Urgot gets the ult. No fears, because he's away from the rest of his team. But then they chase on from here, and BDD picks up so many flashes that he can extend the range, get the kill, and able to get back into the game. Watch for the Malefic Visions bounce. That was the one that looked like it was very unfortunate. The E is used.
It's off of Gorilla.
Yeah, it goes off of Gorilla onto BDD, and his 200 hit points burned down. He'll feel bad about that, but they do get those turrets in the mid lane to get them back in the game.
They are going to at least close a little bit of that gold gap. Now just 3,000 gold ahead is Gen.G, but Ruler beginning to get pretty scary here. He's already on 2.5 items plus a QSS. Has finished that rapid fire cannon, and even though the last fight was heavily in favor of Kingzone, that was because Ruler hopped into the enemy team and just ate it to the face. So as long as he doesn't make mistakes like that in the future, I feel like Gen.G will still be pretty happy about their position.
Hard to call this a fight truly, because it was mostly about Kingzone trying to take down members and Gen.G run away. 2 items are complete for Prey, so the items are starting to come in that, with the way the game was going, may never have been completed. The gold lead still around 3,000. Kingzone looking for a gank brush right now. They're going to be revealed on this control ward.
It's also a Malzahar. Another small thing is his passive. He's not just going to get hit by one Trouble Bubble and die. So it's good for split pushing, and if you have any vision, you should be safe.
And, you know, if we're the IRS, Kingzone haven't paid any taxes at all. And Crown's build, you don't always see this, is Rylai's second for target acquisition with slows. It's general annoyance pick build, rather than going for a min-max damage build. So if you don't pay your taxes and the IRS is out, there's a real chance here that Gen.G can find that first pick and stop Prey from opening up in a fight.
Ruler once again going to be frontlining on this Tristana as the levels go higher, and with that rapid fire cannon. Stormrazer rapid fire means that first shot, well, you said no QSS. They're trying to get onto Peanut. Looks like Cask is going to be the QSS for the side of Kingzone. As we saw that happen, will we have a re-engage? Haru's thinking about it.
Cooldown not the longest. They get a rotation through as 5 members meet 5 members in mid. The ARAM, I think the threat goes down from the Malzahar considerably, and of course his ult is down now, so nothing too much to think about there. The gold lead for the Tristana has only gone into QSS and a pickaxe, so it's not going to be a huge swerve by any means. 2-item Kai'Sa can certainly pop off. It's no AP Kai'Sa this time. Could be the 3 evolves, might just be a more standard AD build. is in a good position with enough time to do significant damage in a 5v5.
Cuvée versus Khan up in the top side. They've been going head-to-head, but so far it looks like Cuvée has been on top of pushing a little bit faster against that Urgot and getting the rotations down.
So we should talk about where Gen.G win this game. If you look at their team, their engage is an Alistar flank and really a Malzahar ultimate, so both of those very situational. If Kingzone see them in a long lane, a Trouble Bubble, a Pillow, that's much more likely a cask to start a fight than anything Gen.G can do. So they very much are going to be about their vision control around an objective, Baron especially. If you face check them, they can do a whole hell of a lot of damage, but if you're drawing them into the open, then there's a lot less threat there. So that's kind of the situation right now for Gen.G is they're ahead, but growing their lead now that a lot of easy objectives are down is pretty tricky, short of actually starting up a Baron. They've got the Malzahar Voidlings, they have some ways to try to rush it down, and Tristana will do plenty of damage, but this game state is going to take a pretty significant play to actually change.
So far, the vision around this Baron has been heavily controlled by Gen.G. There's only the one consistent control ward that just continues to be plopped down by Gorilla into the pit that lets them know anything about that Baron. Okay, no QSS on a Prey here, and he is just gonna go down for free. Crown has to flash in for that one, but a big mistake as now Gen.G can just push in.
A solo mistake by Prey is gonna lose them so much here. The Aatrox is still pushing. He's gonna get an inner turret, you'd think, and that's definitely gonna be Inhibitor. Showing a little bit of respect here. They finish it off, and the man who's drawn the most criticism makes a straight-up unforced error.
That's not something you want to see if you're a Kingzone fan, just being in range of a flash ultimate without QSS from the Malzahar. That just should not happen.
And that's the last part, Valdez. You can walk up like that if you paid your taxes. If you bought the QSS, you can't do both. That's just straight-up misplay. Very nice taking of that advantage by Crown. He knows his Malzahar. He knows his target selection. They get the kill. And now suddenly, the map control that was so even, we were just talking about how the game was going to drag on. You can't foresee a straight-up mistake like that. But in a battle of nerves, the first crack is on the side of Kingzone.
So far, Ruler has been that big shining light for the side of Gen.G, whereas Prey has been a little bit of the opposite. We'll see if he can try to shore that play together as the series does go along. The Kai'Sa was one of the reasons why Kingzone was actually able to win the spring split. They played it so many times, FLICKR just refused to ban it, and everybody was calling for the ban because Prey's Kai'Sa was so clean. That's not what we're seeing here at the end of summer.
And by the end of spring, Prey was top 2 in the tier list for AD carry, but it's fallen away, Valdez. It's been a very significant struggle for him, especially post-Rift Rivals. A lot of criticism for his Lucian game against Rogue Warriors, and not too much great to say about him after. So for a veteran player who has never missed Worlds when active, 2014 did not go but was retired at the time, he is on that quest and he's not doing his team any favors.
Well, that's definitely an eye-opener of a play as well, where even Prey will be like, oh crap guys, I'm really sorry, that was all my fault. So maybe after that one, he'll just take a step back, play a lot more carefully and not make those mistakes. But either way, don't want to harp on it too much.
Yep.
Gen.G still in really big control of this Baron right now, and they're going to go for it. There's actually zero vision. Haru is not in the pit, and Prey, he's going back. He does have the teleport, but
really nice play
far.
here. Haru is baiting that they haven't started it. We know it's down to 4,000.
Oh man, it's so low, but Kingzone, they're gonna get pretty close to flash over the wall, and there's the smite by Haru, is able to take down the Baron. Core JJ is gonna be the sacrifice on the backside. Kingzone now, they wanna bite off a little bit more. Cuvée looks like he's even gonna try to flash to get away from this one, and that he will.
Ends up being a good trade. Certainly they got the Baron, and this was, of course, with the minions pushing as well from Gen.G. Turning into a no-win scenario for the enemy team was Gen.G. Kingzone BDD is going to skip back and try to wave clear. We actually saw, the biggest irony is the last time we saw that play, it was Peanut pulling it off on the Olaf, where you bring your tank line that should be tanking in normal world, the Baron, over the wall to bait that you haven't started it, but the Voidlings and just the amount of damage allows them to get it low, flash into the pit, cement it, BDD trying to Righteous Glory in with the Unsealed Spellbook. Smite isn't going to be able to get into the pit. Really well done. Nice creative play coming through from Gen.G. They get the Baron to go along with the picks and the inhibitors in full control, and while the gold lead still hasn't ballooned to 10,000 like we saw so many times in the 10 games of the regional qualifier already, feels like all the pressure, all the momentum is on the side of Gen.G.
That it is. I mean, they did just get the Baron, and a couple of kills went to the side of Kingzone. This is when you would expect them to continue to push on in. Already one inhibitor is down, but now they can just go for what looks like a 1-1-3 at this point, but just Olaf to come down into the bottom sites and the Aatrox with his TP up on the top and begin to push these 2 extra lanes.
Seeing Khan camp, he's going to clear a ward. I'm actually going to draw some umbrage for the build from Prey. He's gone Hurricane short-range build. Of course, the Hurricane used to be core, but then the synergy with the E was removed. Going this build suggests I'm going to stand and bazooka down passive procs. We already said they don't have Galio. They don't have a lot of setup for him to proc his passive, and you're short-range against a Malzahar, so you're definitely going to get QSS here, and if you don't buy it, you just die. So not having an answer to the Malzahar and playing a short-range Kai'Sa build seems like just a straight-up mistake. I understand min-maxing damage when your team's behind, but this is a comp where you need QSS to play Kai'Sa.
You said it best. This is the time where the IRS is actually going to catch you. Sometimes you can get away with it, but not in this game.
They already sent you 3 warning letters.
I know Ruler has his. You know, he's paying his taxes. He's not even up against the IRS, the Malzahar, in this game. He's just using it against the Trouble Bubble.
Oh boy. Well, it's going to require, I think, a big mistake here, because Crown's certainly going to be holding on to that R button unless they can instantly delete a tank, but he'd love to hold on to it for Prey.
Second Prey makes his move with that short-range build. He's just going to click on him and say, I'm doing my job in this game. That's what a Malzahar does. QV going to drag everybody up into the top side, and he's not even going to go below 90% health.
All right, well, it's full tower defense now as QV pushes up. These inhibitors going down. The Nexus turrets are taking damage. Is Kingzone going to actually just wait for a moment, or are they going to try to create one? They tried with Gorilla earlier, and it did not work.
Well, he does have his flash. Now's going to be the moment. They're looking for someone. Crown's going to fail his flash there, but immediately is going to ult onto the Trundle, who gets super low. Prey, though, does have a lot of space down in the bottom side, but Ruler over the wall is just going at it alongside Cuvée, who's just running at this Kai'Sa. Nothing she can do alone. She will go down. There's only BDD and Khan left, and Ruler not even in the fight right now. Is going to try to hop on over BDD, trying to carry this one by himself, but here's the Tristana. BDD is going to get low, but he kills him in the end. Khan able to trade a kill on the backside as Haru was too low to help out, and Kingzone somehow stay alive in this game.
Super exciting final fight where it went one way and the other. The seesaw was so clear. Ruler was the one to get Prey out of action, but then didn't get a rocket jump reset, so wasn't able to have threat. And while it was just Urgot and BDD was untouched for the majority of the fight. We're going to go all the way back to how it started. Malzahar ult just used because he had to. There were so many people on top of him. Ruler's the one that tries to get rid of Prey, but then he gets trouble bubbled. He didn't have a jump reset after going over the wall. And so while this looks like it's going to be a rout, look at the names here. It's Haru, it's Core JJ, it's Cuvée, who was already into his passive. There's not a lot of damage left off. Ruler needs to be there to stick a team fight like that. He couldn't get into it. I guess maybe he should have flashed over the wall, but you can't know. That's a hindsight point. And Khan able to finish it off. He actually was able to play Bouncer after all.
Yeah, it was definitely a hard fight for Ruler. He ate a trouble bubble with his QSS down. He had to hop away from the Zoe. And so after that, he was so far away from the fight because he was in the jungle, actually, after that one. So it took him so long to rejoin the fight. They were lacking a lot of damage. Gen.G staying a long time there. Nice little pick by Kingzone, but now they're going to give up an Elder Drake with 3 elementals.
Well, that fight was almost the best case scenario for Kingzone, where the game is at. And we talked earlier about in an ARAM, they don't have a lot of engage on the side of Gen.G, so they can't really force things. As you move closer and closer to the enemy nexus, you don't get a lot of options when you don't have engage, when your siege never going to be safe, when Gragas can throw out a cast. So the engage disadvantage and just the terrain where they were fighting on brought out the best of Kingzone. If you replay that team fight with flashes down, it's going to be hard to recreate.
That it will. Lots of summoners down here. Ruler looking at frontline. Peanut, I like this play, trying to come in from behind. You got to do something sneaky like a flank.
But you don't have too much time because the minion's still pushing in top and bot. Here comes the third super minion wave in mid. So Peanut, he's waiting, but the pillar's going to have to be god tier as Ruler wants to auto attack down this Nexus.
He's got such long range at this time. The cast not going to be enough. It actually knocks Ruler away from the turret, buys him a little bit of time. But it feels inevitable right now for Gen.G. Look at that crit onto Prey. He's ticking down with the Elder Drake damage. He can't even be in the game. Ruler is going to do his work in the end. Prey trying his hardest to get it to the back line, but there it is. Crown is able to lock him down. GG, Gen.G going to be able to take game number 1.
Nexus explodes, and Gen.G want to extend that winning matchup against Kingzone DragonX and make it to Worlds. First sighting of Kingzone since the loss against FLICKR. And unfortunately, it was the one that was defined by that big mistake in the mid lane from Prey. Chose not to go QSS. Definitely a decision you can make. In this case, we of course got on his case because by the end it was clear it was necessary. But hey, play to your items. If you don't have a QSS, just sit back and wave clear. He walked up with no QSS into Flash Malzahar ult range with decent but not perfect information about where the rest of Gen.G was. He went down and then everything slid into place for Gen.G.
Nice little setup around the Baron. I feel like Gen.G did make a couple of mistakes as well, but nothing really that Kingzone could capitalize on as they were too far behind. Felt like a slippery slope for them that eventually led to the death of game number 1. We're going to have to talk about that first game because it was not pretty. Didn't look as good as Griffin's play on Friday. And even, SKT game 3, not as good as that. So we'll see what they can do here going into game 2.
Definitely there were moments from Kingzone where you thought another game 5, and then there were moments where you said maybe not. So we'll see if Kingzone can win game 2. They seem to wear that heart on their sleeves so much more often in summer compared to just looking like a cut above in spring. So we're going to have to see a game 2 victory. I just can't imagine this Kingzone reverse sweeping Gen.G. It seems like an impossibility.
Definitely feels like that. We have had best of 5s that did end up in this fashion before, but we'll see what they can do after the break. Definitely a bit of a shocker in game number 1. Ruler able to smash them even after all the 80 carry bans, decides to go for the Tristana, does the most damage by far in the game.
Kingzone chooses red in game number 1. Gen.G have played 5 games on both in a row. 5 games against SKT on blue, 5 games against Griffin on red. What side will they choose in game number 2? Because, you never need a counter pick for Crown. He's going to play a utility mid laner. I imagine Zoe and Lulu are the next ones after what we've seen already. The Lissandra and the Malzahar. He's got the Ryze as well to consider. So a lot of interesting thoughts for both teams going into game number 2.
Yeah, a bit of a hard one here for Kingzone. We'll see what they can do after the commercial break.
정규 경기였는데 정규 승리의 마지막 경기였는데 2대0 승리로 마감하셨네요. 네.
일단 기세는 좋게 갈 수 있을 것 같은데 이제 다음 경기가 잡히면 저희 손에 이제 걸리는 게 아니라 네. 그때까지 언제 경기할지 모르지만 그때까지 좋은 기세 유지하고 싶습니다.
이겨도 기분이 좋아요. 5강 하나가 이겼으면 좋겠어요. 8강 하나. 저기 조금 닭갈비 3인분에 치즈 모듬사리 하나요. 그렇게 먹으니까 그게 덥지. 난 하나도 안 덥잖아. 그냥
맞춰서 틀어주신가 보다. 네? 맞춰 틀어주신 것 같은데?
그런가? 이거 레전드 네번 아이를 들어줘야지. 그러니까 에반데 섭섭한데 이거. 이게 14, 15년? 아 14야? 제드 아니야 이거? 맞아. 나 이미지 들어가자. 그니까 유나이트. 머리요. 머리요요? 머리요. 아 그래요? 이미지 들어갔지? 그럼 잠깐 먼저
뭐가 제일 잘 팔릴 것 같아?
자야요.
나야?
자야가 좀 해봤는데 되게 이쁘더라고요. 근데 자야는 사인 때문에 좀 안 팔리긴 해. 사인 안 쓰는데, 아니 사인 안 쓰는데 근데 스펙이 작잖아, 사이즈가. 좀 그만 바라봐요?
나름 예쁜 손이 너무 많아서
다른은 좀 많이 팔리지. 나는 안 팔릴 것 같아.
은근히 없긴 해.
나는 안 팔릴 것 같아.
낙한이 내가 볼 때 제일 많이 팔렸어. 아이러가 제일 많이 팔렸어.
나는 많이 봤는데? 나를 하는 사람도 내가
백쪽으로 잘 거기 때문에 오늘에서 이름이라 써주는데 다른 거안 가져가.
그거 말하는 거야, 아래.
그러고 걔네도 이 박스에 있는 거.
아니, 그걸 어디서 생겨?
짐 다 썼어요?
마지막 가서 가야 될 것 같아.
뭐가 되는 거야? 아유, 왜 긴장되잖아요. 가요. 집중하는 룰러의 모습.
아유 그런 거왜 찍어요?
크라운. 뭐해?
정이죠. 뭐 하는 거야? 이거 찍고 있나?
왜?
뭐가?
인사하는데 한마디 해. 뭐 한마디야? 인사를 지켜야는데. 한마디 해.
안녕하세요. 해적방송의 박수선입니다. 오늘 해적방송은 조금 특별한 게스트 분들과 함께 하는데요. 바로 푸나틱의 레클레스 소아즈 선수입니다. Welcome back, guys. This is Jisun with Papa, and we're about to have a short interview before going into Game 2 with Reckless and Soaz from Fnatic. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello, everyone. All right, so let's open it up. Can you guys introduce yourselves to the LCK fans? So we know who you are. You're from Fnatic. Your name is?
My name is Martin, but probably know me as Reckless, and I play AD carry for Team Fnatic.
And what about the other lovely gentleman here?
My name is Soaz, and I'm top lane for Fnatic.
네, 안녕하세요. 푸나틱의 원거리 딜러 선수 레클레스입니다. 안녕하세요. 푸나틱의 탑 라이너 소아즈입니다.
All right, so first question, we'll talk to Reckless first. You advanced to Worlds, of course, by beating Schalke and winning the EULCS. You're in Korea now. How are you finding Korea? I know it's not your first time in Korea.
Korea is always nice, especially the solo queue. I think it is, by no doubt, the best solo queue we have out there. But for me, moving here, the first week is always about changing the rhythm of sleep and finding good food. And so far, I've really enjoyed the Korean barbecue. I think that is something we don't have enough of in Europe. So I'm trying to get as much as I can while I'm here.
네, 지금 유럽에서 이제 롤드컵 진출을 확정시키고 한국에 계신데 어떻게 지내고 계시냐고 여쭤봤는데요. 한국은 역시나 솔로큐 환경이 너무 좋아서 잘 즐기고 있고 그것 외에도 음식이 너무 좋다. 여태까지 또 한국의 삼겹살이 너무 좋았고 계속 지내는 동안 유럽에서는 많이 먹지 못하기 때문에 더 좋은 곳들 찾아나가겠다고 말씀했습니다.
And what about you, Soaz? How are you finding Korea? How many times is it for you in Korea now? Because you, of course, have been around since season 1, so you're a big veteran.
I've lost count, honestly, of the number of times I've been in Korea. But yeah, as Reckless said, it's always nice, like Korean solo queue, the food there. I really enjoy spicy food myself. So
Spicy food, okay.
yeah.
네, 아무래도 소아즈 선수는 활동하신 지 오래되셨기 때문에 한국에서 전지훈련하신 경우도 많은 것 같아서 얼마나 있었냐고 여쭤봤더니 아무래도 세야 할 것 같이 많다고 말했고요. 또 한국에서 역시 솔로큐 환경이 너무 좋고 그 외에도 음식도 정말 맛있고 또 매운 음식도 즐기기 때문에 한국에서 경험이 아주 좋다고 합니다.
All right, so next question. We'll start with you, Soaz. Game 1, we just saw it, Kingzone versus Gen.G, ended up being a Gen.G victory. What are your thoughts watching in the crowd here? What did you take away from the game?
Really short answer, buy QSS and don't pick Gragas again. No.
Everyone needs a QSS, just pray. What were you thinking?
I mean AD mostly, yeah. Didn't look like Zoid really needed much in this game, but yeah, I mean it felt like a really first Gragas game. I mean first game of the series Gragas game. Probably wouldn't play it on the first game, need to be a bit warmed up.
Sure.
Probably to
so warm-up game, QSS from Prey, yeah. And then maybe the Zoe pick needs to change.
No, Zoe was good. Zoe was good.
네, 이제 첫 경기 어떻게 보셨냐고 여쭤봤더니 아무래도 말자의 CC가 강력하기 때문에 QSS 수은 장식들을 꼭 사야 될 것 같다고 말을 했고요. 사실 조이 픽에 대해서는 그렇게 문제가 없었고 프레이 선수가 아무래도 수은 장식들을 올렸어야 하지 않나 이런 반응이 있었습니다.
And what about you, Reckless? Any short thoughts about game number 1 or maybe this series altogether?
So I was actually surprised that Kingzone lost this game because I felt like the Urgot versus Aatrox top matchup was in their wheelhouse and playing towards top side should be a situation where they're better off. But since Gen.G won this game, I feel like they're just going to sweep the entire series.
So
and,
a 3-0?
Maybe, actually, yeah. I wouldn't be too surprised after game 1. And also I want to pay my respects to Ruler for his Tristana. I think he played well. Even though he had a moment in the mid-game where he jumped
anyone
in.
knows Tristana, it is you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't go TP and press attack myself, but I think he had the right idea with the pick, and I think it's a good matchup into the Kai'Sa as well.
네, 이제 1경기에 대한 소감 전반적인 이야기는 사실 젠지가 1세트 이겨서 정말 놀랐고 아트록스 우르고 탑 구도가 생각보다 자기가 예상한 것과 다르게 나와서 좀 놀라웠다고 하고요. 젠지가 1세트를 딴 만큼 아무래도 전체적으로 좀 이길 것 같다. 특히 3대 0이 나올 수도 있을 것 같다라고 말했습니다.
All right, so we'll stick with you, Reckless. Of course, very famous that last year you did your AD tier rankings where Uzi came on top. Would you stick with that first? Still number 1, Uzi?
Definitely, yeah. I think he is by far the best AD carry.
All right, well, let's zoom it in. Of course, we have LCK viewers here. Let's think about the gauntlet, or just some of the teams around Korea. We got KT, FLICKR, Kingzone, Gen.G. A lot of names here. Just among those teams, who would you pick as the best AD carry? Among KT, so Deft, FLICKR have 2, of course, Kingzone, Prey, and Gen.G Ruler.
So normally I would probably say Prey, but I feel like lately he hasn't been that great, which can also probably speak to their team not doing so well. But even with him playing better, I think Deft would still be one of my prime candidates right now. I think he stepped it up big time here in the summer split, and he's one of the main reasons as to why KT made it to the finals and then won the whole thing as well. But other than those two, I would probably say Ruler has always been solid, and I respect him a lot for being so young and still succeeding so much.
네, 이제 아무래도 작년 인터뷰에서 원거리 딜러 순위를 매긴 적이 있잖아요. 그때 1위가 우지 선수로 뽑혔는데 아직도 그렇게 생각하시냐 여쭤봤더니 여전히 우지 선수가 정말 큰 격차로 잘하고 있는 것 같다고 하셨고요. 한국에 있는 팀들에서 얘기하자면 데프트 선수가 잘하고 있는 것 같고 그 외에도 룰러 선수가 정말 어린데도 좋은 커리어와 함께 잘 활약하고 있기 때문에 룰러 선수 역시 잘하는 원딜러라고 생각한다고 말했습니다.
All right, so final question. We'll give it to you, King of the top lane, Soaz. Let's think about the same question then. So we got tier list for AD carry that's been revisited. Have never heard your tier list for top laners. Who's the strongest top laner in the world? And then let's drill it down to Korea.
I mean, I think Let Me is the best tank player.
Okay.
Besides me, of course.
Best top laner and best tank player.
Yeah. I mean, you need to be a good tank player to be a best top laner.
Takes one to know one, right?
But besides Let Me, I mean, I think individually Khan have been always really outstanding in terms of top lane performance. There's also the fact that they tend to play a lot towards top lane, but I feel like he plays well on the two. So I think Khan is pretty good individually. Else, I'll put Let Me up there, of course.
네, 이제 탑 라이너의 순위에 대해서 물어보자면 렛미 선수가 자기를 제외하면 정말 잘하는 것 같다. 탱크 챔피언도 정말 잘 플레이한다고 말을 했고요. 한국으로 넘어오자면 아무래도 칸 선수가 평소에 특출난 경기력을 보여줬기 때문에 칸 선수가 가장 잘한다고 생각한다고 말씀하셨습니다.
Well, you guys beat the rush to make it to Korea. Of course, many other pro teams will be out here soon. So thank you very much for the interview. And I think Ji-sun, we should send it back.
So thank you guys. It was Soaz and Reckless from Fnatic, and Game 2 is about to get started, so don't go anywhere. 여기까지가 푸나틱의 소아즈, 레클레스 선수와의 해적 방송이었습니다. 감사합니다. 안녕.
Welcome back, guys. I'm here alone on the desk. You got 15 seconds of the Valdez solo cast, but we're here with some highlights from the game. As you guys who did watch, it was pretty much a one-sided victory to the side of Gen.G. For me, it was most interesting to hear that Soaz actually didn't mention Smeb or even QV up in the top side. Those would have been two other picks for me, but I guess Khan. Who's that?
I'm back.
He's back, Papa Smithy. We got to see your full body on camera for the first
People
time in a long time.
now know that we don't necessarily wear dress clothes, fully clothed, but we do wear jeans, so there's that.
Yeah, I was just surprised that you had legs. I wasn't sure about that, as a lot of other viewers at home now can rest safely knowing that he does have legs.
Keep your eyes above the table, Valdez.
I will. From now on, I don't want to see what's down there anymore, Papa. But yeah, what do you think about the? Everybody saw the highlights; they know what happened in the game. But what did you think about the answers that Reckless and Soaz had to give?
A lot of RNG praise there, right? Let Me, of course, a tank top laner for a tank top laner, but Uzi, no surprise, the best AD carry in the world. I think Khan being called above Smeb and Keen is an interesting choice.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
At the end of the day, Soaz likes what he likes, and I'm sure Gen.G fans will like what they saw in game number 1. Ended up being a crushing defeat. It was right there, though. Didn't it feel like this game was 50-50 and a Flash Malzahar ult later? Man, that's actually a lot of series. You could talk about that with Crown, but this one most recently, suddenly, it's Gen.G in the driver's seat, and I think if I asked you what the win rate would be if Gen.G took game 2, I think most people are going to think 80, 90+% for the series.
Yeah. A sign before this one said, after I graduate, I'm going to get married to Peanut. Well, I would reconsider that after game number 1, maybe look elsewhere into the jungle, as Haru looking pretty spicy that time in the matchup up against Peanut. And guys, no player changes, no changes at all, really, as we do go into game number 2. Gen.G going to pick blue side and stick with that side.
Well, Gen.G, they've been known for small champion pools and single strategies. Now, they just like comfort. Let's stay where we are. No moves for them. What about in the bans, though? Because we liked Kingzone's bans. They sub out Alessandra. They replace it with Malzahar. I just feel there's always another CC bot in the mid lane for Crown to return to.
There's always going to be something left over. I was actually surprised that they went as far as banning Malzahar here, but I suppose after that game and the reluctancy to actually buy a QSS from anybody on the side of Kingzone, can't really blame them. Also going to finally take away Alistair from Core GG.
Definitely also a choice of changing a lot of stuff, right? If you think of Griffin and their insistence on sticking with the same bans, that's 2 bans changing. I like that they're still banning the Camille. We already talked about how it's a very big flex pick for Gen.G. But right now, it feels like the Urgot blocker is Sion if you want a tank, and Aatrox if you're happy enough with a carry. So Aatrox first pick, but the Lovers bot lane aren't separated, and it's going to be Kingzone DragonX taking them away. You seem a bit surprised, but do consider if there was Aatrox and the Lovers bot lane put together on the side of Gen.G, that'd be pretty scary.
Yeah, you are right. I thought, you know, perhaps leaving Urgot open, you could just have Crown hop onto the Aatrox. But again, how good is he at his Aatrox? Haven't seen it yet. So you might just give that to the comfort you were mentioning up in the top side for Cuvée. Yeah, they're just going to give Zoe to Crown here. He's 3-0 on the pick, and just more and more comfort for him.
But a mid lane assassin is what BDD's been prepping. Yasuo, Irelia, all of them would have been considered, but with the Irelia banned, the Yasuo is the takeaway. Will Yasuo be the science that takes Kingzone to the answering victory in game number 2? I've had the pleasure of watching a lot of BDD on Yasuo in solo queue. He's been relentlessly aggressive, but it definitely hasn't been as clean as you might want. Again, it's solo queue. Maybe he's just testing his limits. It's a pick that had a lot of respect. People were whispering about BDD's Yasuo to me for the better part of a couple of months, but in terms of stage performance, we remain to be convinced.
It's very true. I'm waiting on seeing what Peanut wants to play this time around. Still has so many fans for this guy. We'll see if he can turn it up after the Trundle in game 1.
And who's going to last pick? Because maybe, just maybe, you consider last picking jungle. Not often the way. Usually a Gragas will just come out. But given Gragas is banned, if you go Sejuani, you don't know what might happen. Trundle, Gragas banned away. The Sejuani among the tier list junglers that's left open in this particular scenario. The Gragas would have had great synergy with the Yasuo, of course. That's taken away.
Ooh.
Evelyn being hovered, but the Olaf is the dueling jungler you can consider. Let me put this out there. Ning played the Kayn yesterday, and Kayn can go into Olaf, and Kayn is one of Haru's most career played.
It's very true. Always got to think about that in your back pocket. Just want to see what he decides to go for. They're going to save the counter pick for the mid or the top lane here for the side of Kingzone. So it is going to be into that Aatrox, of course, but the Shen is going to be picked up, most likely into the bottom lane for Core JJ. What will we have hopping into the jungle here for Gen.G, though?
Outside chance it'll be a jungle Aatrox, but it's not going to be. It's going to be the skill matchup here. The Lee Sin is, of course, the safer choice than that Kayn, and we see Haru's Lee Sin. Who's hunting who? Because this matchup tends to go big for one side, and the other side goes home.
These guys have been watching some LPL. They say, hey, that Lee Sin pick is actually higher tier over there. There must be something to that. And in an aggressive meta, it makes sense. We'll see if Haru can turn up the heat here with a pick like Lee Sin.
Now, top lane required from Kingzone. If they lock in the Urgot, they have no magic damage at all. Really nothing on their side when it comes to magic damage. So this is a very strong mid-game comp that can snowball. You look at the side of Gen.G. In terms of true tanks, they only have the Shen, and it's a support Shen. So it's not going to be the most tankiness. But Kingzone are looking to play around Olaf and get him priority. Lover's bot lane, you'll take in priority. The Urgot and the Aatrox seems about 50-50, and Yasuo can definitely do some dirty things level 3 onwards in mid. To me, this is all going to be about tempo jungling. We had maybe the best tempo jungling series of all time in the grand final of the LCK with Tarzan and Score rocking out that day. I want to see Peanut and Haru, the more aggressive orientation of junglers in Korea, play around their lane pressure, because whenever there's the spot, Lee Sin and Olaf will go hunting.
They're going to go hunting, and I hope that we get some action early on in the game. Should be a very intense game number 2, and as you were mentioning, Kingzone, I think they need to win this one if they want to keep their feet underneath them. Otherwise, Gen.G might just straight up sweep them. We'll see what does happen in here. Worried about Crown into the Yasuo. I think they banned out Yasuo Irelia multiple times up against Griffin, up against Chovy, makes sense, but this time the Yasuo makes it through. They choose to ban out some other things, but can Crown actually do it up against the Yasuo? It's going to be very important for this game.
Last pick Urgot too. How the Urgot has fallen, maybe just for the minute. New stuff on the side of Gen.G. Kingzone DragonX. The Yasuo's the one to keep your eyes on.
That it is, BDD. He wants to be the carry for his team. We'll see if he can do it here. Jumping into game number 2. The countdown has started. Let's do it.
미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
The Gen.G chant getting slightly louder and louder every time they win a game and win a series. We got the purple Aatrox back here, Papa. I know you liked that from the last series.
Cuvée trying to make me a biased caster. I will admit my bias. I'm biased towards that chroma. Looks awesome. Cool to see. I don't know why we faded to black. There's no Nocturne in this game.
That was a real Monkus moment. I have no idea what that was.
I think it was a bad angle,
yeah,
and that he actually went into terrain.
Yeah.
Good stuff there. Well, we're peering over the terrain again and checking out the junglers. Here's Haru walking up. He actually clears out the little Poro that was spotting there, the Ghost Poro. Will there be a late invade? Hasn't really been the meta in Korea in these regionals, but we're going to see just a scouting invade by Khan. This is usually a sign of a creative 3 buff. They've got Olaf. He's starting Raptors. Once again, let's watch that path. Last time I remember Peanut doing this path, he showed up for a very early gank bot lane. But for now, going to be 2 buffs on the top side for Kingzone, and you won't necessarily expect it because there was no leash coming through. The Urgot was spotting as if it was a blue start from Peanut.
Yeah, definitely an interesting start to this one. You can tell that Haru was looking to get aggressive up in the top side and clear out some vision. Will he stay up here or go straight to the red? Interested to see.
So let's talk about what Khan did. That invade, the late invade there, really obfuscates the path from Peanut, and we know that Olaf wants to power jungle on low health. Now there's really no information to Haru about what path Olaf is taking. His first thought is blue side to top side. So we're not going to see an invade from Haru anyway, but it was largely about getting Peanut to 650 gold, to getting his boots, and then having a keystone with the Predator, rather than getting invaded with no keystone against a Lee Sin. So that's very much just some assistance for the jungler to get him started.
Yeah, definitely a nice little start for Peanut. No looking at any of the Scuttle Crabs here for the side of Haru, who actually just went entire top side clear into red buff. And they do have a ward on that Scuttle Crab, so Kingzone do know that the Lee Sin should be down towards the bottom side of the map. Looking for a play into the mid lane here is Haru. We'll see how close he can get. There's that red buff. He has to flash the Trouble Bubble, otherwise he's pretty much dead meat, so already able to get the flash here is Haru.
Nice play, very low kill pressure, but of course very, very likely to blow the flash. And now BDD can't go for the same aggressive surfs because he doesn't have the flash out available. Gonna have to be more defensive. Rinse and repeat, right? So this in game number 1, different matchup. We're seeing it in game number 2. Any little assistance you can give Crown is gonna be so big at getting the lane going, and Crown and Haru were the best buddies when Samsung Galaxy was really rampaging through the regular season, kind of the only time they ever have, spring 2017.
Oh, he got the big
yeah.
Krug. Cuvée going alpha mode into the enemy jungle is able to steal away a hefty amount of golden experience off of that camp.
Means that Ruler and Core JJ can do whatever they want because they know there has to be a full reset, boots, and second jungle item, Talisman, picked up from Peanut. Not going to interrupt him, already had the 650 gold, as we can see.
definitely just an annoying thing there for Peanut. Is going to get priority on the map here after getting those boots and going back to buy. The Lee Sin Haru should go back after his Crux, so a little bit more opportunity to be active for Peanut, who was heading down towards the bottom side.
JJ and Ruler walk up. Do note that the CS is very even between the two duo lanes. If you are Varus, you are going to win basically every 80 carry versus 80 carry duel, but there's such an advantage having Rakan over Shen that you would expect there to be at least a tempo lead for Kingzone, the 2v2. We're not seeing that. But with the tempo right now, with the ability to walk up to the lane, Olaf going for a very early Drake take at 5 minutes into the game.
He is going to get away with it, too. There's one ward in the Pixel Brush for Gen.G, but Lee Sin goes top jungle. Gorilla comes on over. Easy smite, and that's an Infernal here to start off game number 2.
If you're wondering as to the why, it's because that's the Olaf gank timing with Predator. So the bot lane of Gen.G's hanging back, worried about the gank. We see Oceans attempted by an Olaf around that time. He goes for the Infernal, is able to pick it up anyway. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, as Gen.G's duo lane, if you don't have your jungler there to help spot.
At the end of the day, it does look like just the Raptors will be taken away and Haru on an aggressive path to the top lane, but already some pings being thrown out, as it seems like Khan has a good read on exactly where this Lee Sin should be going.
Has one corrupting potion stack as well. He has his E and flash, not very reliable. Take him down, so Haru, after that great mid lane gank, is going to be on a ward. So suddenly his positioning is pretty predictable, and we already talked about how this is feast or famine jungle matchup. See what Peanut can do now that he has even more information about the enemy, as the blue ping comes out to spot Lee Sin, sorry, Olaf, I should say, on the bot side.
Saw this early game with that play in the mid lane. Actually, Crown is getting pretty far ahead of BDD now, who has had to play pretty passively after the way this early game did go. You got Gorilla and Peanut, though, now heading towards the mid lane, looking to push this one into Crown.
I think Peanut really needs to stay ahead of the curve. Talked about it in Champ Select. No magic damage on the side of Kingzone. Means the build pass eventually really do lack that same oomph when you only have to look at one type of combat stat to itemize into. So far, so good when it comes to that presence on the map. But really, the timer is against Kingzone. Not in a massive way, because it's not huge tank frontline Ornn and Sejuani kind of game. But still, the pace is on, and Kingzone trying to steal away the blue buff. They did spot Haru here earlier.
They spotted Haru. They know that Crown has to go back as well. It's a pretty easy play. They have the timer on the buff as well. And take a look at that purchase from Crown. Goes for Ninja Tabi immediately, plus the Dark Seal and 2 control wards as well.
Well, he knows his role. That's the thing about Crown. He knows his role. Merc Treads Rush, very common for and against Zoe. Ninja Tabi, control wards, don't die, do not be solo killed, do not allow BDD to hit the side lane with an early 2 items and warp the game. Side lane options, unless the Aatrox can actually duel the Yasuo, are limited. Gen.G want to hit 1 item onto Crown. That 1 item's not Ninja Tabi, by the way, it's Luden's Echo.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 items onto Ruler and start sieging. They have very strong siege with Zoe and Varus. And anything to interrupt that, anything to work against those timings and allow BDD to hit the side lane is not something they can allow.
Taking a little look down here in the bottom lane, there hasn't been much action, even though the Shen could make some plays with the flash, especially level 6 Lee Sin. I think now that he has his red buff, he might be looking to get aggressive here. Will be spotted, though, on a control ward already. Peanut is nearby, but Haru, let's see if he can invade, actually, into the blue buff area.
He really wants to take bot side control, because the one thing that's actually worked against Gen.G has been RNG, actually, because it's Infernal into Infernal spawn. Haru is here. The control wards are down. Olaf is doing no counter ganking. Can we see Haru pull off some sick, clean Lee Sin? Or will he be spotted earlier? Gorilla has not put down a ward.
You can tell he's thinking about it, at least playing passively for now, as they seem to have an idea of what's going on. But you got Olaf right over the wall. I think he did use his Q, which was spotted out by Olaf, so nothing doing down in the bottom side. They still have 3 control wards down there trying to make something work, but so far the Lee Sin has been had to be passive after that first gank in the mid lane. Nothing much else doing.
Normally we don't complain about Drake RNG, but when you go all AD and it could potentially be 3 Infernals in a row, that's one of the few ways you can actually be undone. Speaking of being undone.
Uh-oh, Khan trying to solo this, and it's the 3-on-1 right now. You see BDD is not even coming into the river. He knows he's dead. That's going to be easy first blood given over to the Aatrox on the top side.
He had some vision down, but he felt like he was in position to walk down the river. We can see Olaf was bot side. The Yasuo, like you mentioned, couldn't walk over. Seems like just a walk in the park, but we called the first mistake, being in Flash Malzahar range and unforced error. Let's keep with our tennis terminology. That feels like an unforced error as well, coming through from Khan.
And it does. You know, you're having a slow game up in the top side. You see that juicy scuttle crab. You say, hey, I might as well take this. You know, I should be okay. But Lee Sin on the ward, and he continues to go for it. Aatrox from the top side doesn't even get the scuttle crab.
Strange decision from Khan. No priority in mid lane at the time. Cuvée walks down to chase, and Haru's there. Worst case scenario, certainly, but the best case scenario didn't seem worth it. BDD walking up, but the Ninja Tabi, the Summoner's up. No interest in dying from Crown, and he's actually kept up a little bit of a CS lead at the same time.
He's doing really well relatively here. He even has the 1 stack onto the Dark Seal already. Both solo laners for the side of Gen.G seemingly very comfortable in their lanes, especially after the kill now going over to the Aatrox. Cuvée gonna even have more fun up in that top side. We saw what he can do when he gets fed on this pick. I wouldn't expect any less, but here we go. Another Infernal Drake coming down. Gen.G probably not gonna give this one up for free.
No double freebies, you'd think, but right now, is there a ward to go in? Okay, it's a pretty shallow ward. Peanut's giving it up, not trying to burst it down.
Haru goes in, though. It looks like, okay, nice double knock up there. Missed engage onto Ruler, who just Chains of Corruptions him in the face. Gorilla gonna be extremely low, but Crown now out of position, has to flash away from this one. Haru eating all the damage from that one. Looking for the kill onto Gorilla. Here is Crown. The shield coming on in. He will be able to take it out. And now the engage, and there's the Aatrox. 2-man knock up into the backside, and Haru able to pick up another kill too. And it looks like Peanut as well is gonna be on the run. This is a total rout now by the side of Gen.G. Defenders come in to save 2 members' life, but 2 kills as well as the Infernal Drake should go to the side of Gen.G.
Just feels like a metaphor as CoreJJ actually takes down the Olaf. But everything is falling just short for the side of Kingzone. Gorilla invests his flash, doesn't even get a flash from Ruler. Just gets the Chains of Corruption in his face. And where everything falls short for Kingzone, everything's on fire for Gen.G.
Oh, they look so good tonight here. I was worried for Crown and that he got caught, but that was not the case. Cuvée carrying this really hard.
Ruler's on a ward, and look at that AoE. It's just at the feet of Ruler. When the World Championship was up for grabs at the feet of Ruler, he won the game by the flash engage onto FLICKR in Game 3. In this particular game, the moment that Gorilla doesn't get the engage, he's out of the fight. He gets assassinated. Cuvée is a huge frontliner at this point in the game, and they just roll through and even get that last second kill onto the Olaf. We missed this. How did he even get there? He's not in vision. CoreJJ just says, what if he's there? And he is. Yeah. Taunt flash, baby. An executioner play by Shen.
Yeah, and Peanut, he has to know. I mean, there was a ward to spot Shen going into the jungle, but he just took the risk anyway, thought there's no way he could die to the Shen. But surprisingly, that does happen from time to time from the Shen. And even though Xayah did a ton of damage on the retreat, it was just a disengage. There was no kill pressure. She was just doing it to get away from everybody. And now the game is falling heavily to the side of Gen.G.
Now the double to triple Infernal. That win condition is gone. It's 1-1 on Infernals. The scaling, we already know about the single damage type. It's not impossible for Kingzone. You can hit the ground running at 2 items, out teamfight twice, and maybe it never gets to the point where it's relevant. But we got 5 Ninja Tabis in a dream already from Gen.G. And how about Shelly also to put some pressure on BDD?
going to be extremely early. Peanut trying to get on top of the Lee Sin here, actually chasing pretty far, and it looks like the knockup comes in, and down will go the Lee Sin, but Cuvée is so strong right now. He just dunks him in the face, and also Gorilla going to go down to the Lee Sin. Cuvée still on the chase here. Nowhere for BDD to run or hide. A double kill now to the Aatrox.
Every single Q from this Aatrox, a dagger into the heart of Kingzone DragonX World's Hope. Cuvée's gauntlet buff has been so amazing. He's had another just indifferent regular season, but when Worlds on the line, you know he's going to be there and looking strong.
The Gen.G we all know and love, they won 2 gauntlets in a row. They're looking to win a 3rd one now. We're only halfway through, just the beginning here even of game number 2 in the series, but it already feels that way.
So let's see how this starts. Haru's just putting down Vision. He gets started on by Olaf. He wins that trade. Let's watch it from here. Rakan goes in, gets their man, but watch on the backside. Rakan was like, thank you very much. I'm going to go kill that person. However, Prey's left all alone. He was walking up down the river, and he's in melee range of an Aatrox. You've got to think about both sides. You can't just think about killing someone. Your AD carry is nuked to the Nether Realm in 0 seconds.
Definitely felt like an odd decision. I feel like they didn't have all the vision to make a calculated, knowledgeable play there. As you mentioned, they saw someone and they said, let's try to kill that person, but it looked a little bit wonky. Kingzone so far not impressing here in this best of 5. And Haru on the Lee Sin has been, even though he did kind of get crushed in that last fight. He's still putting up the pressure on that play.
Kingzone DragonX, so desperate to get away from the mantra. Everyone knows the name for them now, Valdez. It has some variants, but it's chokers. That's the only word you could use. Kind of the term I think of when I see a performance like this, where the game is there to be won, and it's not just Prey making mistakes. We saw that big mistake from Khan as well. The adage we talk about in Australian sports is downhill skier, which means when the game is a very easy one against a bottom team, they're looking fantastic. When it's a hard one, they need to make plays and they're not working.
Chain of Corruption again, but Ruler has a stopwatch on the backside, but this is a lot of damage. 4 on 3 right now. Haru gonna get extremely low. He will be able to get out, but nice conversion there by Kingzone.
Need a moment like that. A small moment, but maybe an important one. Brown trying to poke away the minion wave. Got there second and wasn't able to make anything happen. Try to take this turret, try to find something. Kingzone need to reset and get some gold into themselves, but has the damage already been done? The 5 Ninja Tabis were noted before. The 5,000 gold lead is very conspicuous at the top of the screen, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And this time the engage actually works out for Kingzone.
No flash here for Ruler, but he does it again to the Rakan. He is just playing with him right now. It was a 4 on 3. There was no way he was going to survive, but man, that's definitely going to get into the back of the minds here of Gorilla twice in a row now.
He's been really on point with the Chains of Corruption. Very, very impressed by that one. Gotta say, between Chains of Corruption and the W from Shen on top of Ruler, that stuffs a lot of damage coming through from the Yasuo especially. And the short-range physical damage threats. Ninja Tabi reduces auto-attack damage. The Spirit's Refuge just counters them completely.
Yeah, seemed to be a good pick. At that point, they already knew Xayah, Rakan, Yasuo, Olaf, and so they say, even if it's a top lane AP, the Shen gonna be good regardless. Just one of the support champions that were left over as well. We noted that the Alistar was banned away, as well as the Braum in the second stage and the Morgana. We got another Drake coming in here. Crown not in the best spot, has to use his real flash as he was a little bit too aggressive there.
They want to be a bit more slow and steady with the setups here. They got Zoe Varus, and the summoners are now down on both. There's a lot of different creative angles that Kingzone can find and engage on, and Gorilla has his flash. But if you make the wrong engage and don't get your man, you lose inhibitor at pre-20 minutes. So Kingzone need to be proactive. They're set up to be proactive with those summoners being down on Crown and Ruler. However, the downside is certainly there.
Gen.G corralling them right now. Level 13 Cuvée over level 10 Peanut is doing that work. Okay, Prey. Crown just says, get the hell away from here. This is our Mountain Drake, and after 2 members get chunked, not much you can do. Also pushing in the top lane here for Gen.G, so really good map movement for them right now.
I always like to talk about my meanwhile ads, but the Observer's doing it for us. Everything is stacking up for the side of Gen.G. And the moment you're saying engage or you lose your window to a team that was 5,000 gold behind, it lets you know that Kingzone are in a really desperate spot. We were already mouthing about how low their percentage would be to reverse sweep, given all the out-of-game factors that have worked against Kingzone since they went to MSI. Already this game seems so tricky for them. And we're not going to be seeing a high-damage Yasuo build either. He's going Sterix, he's going for just a bit of staying power, but will the game even be there to be won by the time his third item is complete for the Yasuo?
I feel like the biggest thing they have to worry about right now is level 14 Cuvée 3-0-1. What do you do when you have, you know, a squishy support? You have the Yasuo who's not tanky. That's part of the reason why you went to Sterix. If any kind of flank comes in from the Aatrox, we're going to see a lot of members die here. Core JJ, not in the best spot, but is able to taunt his way over the wall. Should be fine.
I don't have an answer for you. That is a proposition that sounds really scary because, like you say, they're just not set up to deal with something like this big an edge. He has Death's Dance already. My God, Ninja Tabi Death's Dance, a bit of health from the Black Cleaver.
He won't die.
He leeches a whole hell of a lot from his Q, especially as well in a team fight. So, yeah, you just lose. So maybe fight where he's not.
We'll see how that works for them. We got teleport right now on Cuvée, so if any fight breaks out, I guarantee he's going to be there. Right now, he's actually just running at the enemies, as nobody can quite get close to his level. He's 2 levels over anybody on the side of Kingzone, only BDD and Khan at level 12 right now.
Problems of their own creation. They only have Rakan for the setup reliably. Also, Khan is going to be able to set up the last breath, but Rakan is certainly the one who you want for that. Haru just takes Lee Syndrome Q. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's going in.
Oh, baby!
Okay, that's an interesting play. BDD gonna get extremely low on the backside, and he does go down. Cuvée just zoning out Khan, and here he is into the back line. The flash taunt on top of Prey. He is able to get out of that one, but not anymore, as the trouble bubble and the giant monster ran at him and got the kill. Gen.G so far ahead. Let's see what they do from here.
Haru's Lee Sin IQ doubled in a second. He went from 100 IQ Lee Sin to 200 IQ with jumping over to get the Yasuo into the mid.
Yeah.
They take Yasuo down. They're on the Baron. Haru himself, though, pretty low on health.
Now he's a 50 IQ Lee Sin, struggling to stay alive underneath the Baron, but he'll be there for the smite. Peanut just trying to get some vision, throwing in some axes. Haru now has some of that health, looking to burst it down. There's the flash taunt to make sure he gets it. The smite, though! Oh, no! Peanut able to get over the wall, but everybody else should be going down here. The flash on over for Khan. Just the chase coming in here. BDD and Prey coming on up, but BDD maybe a bit off a little bit too much, buddy. It's 1v5. The Yasuo not gonna survive. It's science, baby, as he goes down.
Somehow, it's been a year since the last time, and nothing has changed. We're looking at a 3-0 for Gen.G this time, after the 3-0 that surprised everyone against Longzhu Gaming for Samsung. They're running over them, and even a Baron steal from Peanut isn't going to change the 7,000 gold lead.
Not much you can do. It looks like it was smited a little bit early. I saw 100 health as Peanut got in there and got the smite down.
Well, watch this one. Haru low on health to start, of course. He gets the heal from Crown, so it means he has a bit of health. Though it's going to be clean. The interruption comes in, but Peanut's in the pit at 1,400. Let's watch for the first smite. Yes, too early and then claimed from Peanut, who didn't smite. He actually just took it down with, I believe, his reckless swing. He takes it down. That true damage is much smaller, but ends up being enough. And then BDD, just like when he was over-eager on the Syndra against Malzahar in Game 1 of the World's quarterfinal, why is he diving in now? The fight's over, mate.
He was the only one with Baron left, too. Actually, the Xayah Prey did not come up in time to get the Baron buff, and so even though they steal it, they get the gold. There's less pushing here from Gen.G. Nobody on the side of Kingzone can use that to defend, and it's still a landslide right now going to the side of Gen.G. They're 7,000 gold ahead at 23 minutes. Definitely looking even more one-sided than game number 1.
The person who looks the most against expectation is BDD, and he needed to be their hard carry today. He's been so wonderful in the second half of the season. We're going to look over some of the Spo TV history here, looking at Cuve's involvement, and Cuve and Haru linking up in general. Haru has been outstanding in this particular game on the Lee Sin. You don't think of him as the top-tier Lee Sin player in Korea. Spirit and Peanut probably more famous on that one, but he has been great in this game. The pressure is on, and KingZone DragonX, they got to win every team fight triumphantly, otherwise this game is just going to straight up end.
Haru showing that, hey, you can ban away my Camille. Yeah, you can take away other picks. I still have Lee Sin in my back pocket. It's just an annoyance for them because they got the Olaf. They were comfortable about taking that away from Haru after game number 1, but not really the case, as he's looking really good. And once again, the Aatrox first pick here for Cuve. Let's see if he can go 1v2, though. Doesn't look very likely. He's going to be ulted in over the wall, and not much else. Actually, we got Xayah coming in here to try to help out. He wanted to try to burst her down, but it's not going to happen. Converting on a kill, but a kill for Infernal Drake, that's going to be worth every time.
Definitely accepted his own fate. Wasn't even looking for a 1-for-1. Just tried to get away and couldn't do so. Everything connects from the side of KingZone, but a kill for an Infernal Drake. You definitely take the Infernal, as Gen.G are the rich. They're getting richer. And unfortunately, KingZone on welfare, and the Ninja Tabis are already a bad sign. Gotta say, though, Ninja Tabis are kind of the tax this game, like the QSS was last game. And Gen.G, they've always been about dotting their I's, crossing their T's. Don't think any of these guys are going to be caught for tax evasion anytime soon. They're looking comfortable in KingZone. They're going to need a really big set of plays this game. I don't think one is going to be enough.
Not sure who picked up the shutdown on the Aatrox, but if it was the Xayah, that would have been really nice, actually. You get a hefty chunk of gold after 4 kills onto an Aatrox, or onto anyone, really. So we'll see where that gold did go. Kind of cuts it down to 6,000 instead of 7,000, which is decent. But as we mentioned, the Infernal Drake going to be more worth in terms of stats and gold overall.
And Gen.G is setting up a makeshift front line. Double Randuin's going to come out of Lee Sin, and also the Aatrox. Takes a lot to dissuade Haru from going full damage, but if you go the Randuins, you have a slow and a kick when you get into the back line. He's already found some very smart engages in this game, so definitely not a hater on the build, and it's one of the ways to shut down Yasuo from getting the first kill and actually trifle with Yasuo and the Xayah without just being exploded. Sitting on a ward right now at Gen.G. They don't have full control of the red side jungle of KingZone just yet.
Yeah, they're kind of standing on a triangle, a plethora of red wards right now. They don't seem to care, as nobody's got a sweeper available right now. Actually, only Shen has one.
Very notable, actually, to go so few sweepers. Usually this relies on just some big outplays, a really big pick from someone like Haru, because you're not bringing the enemy to you. You're saying, hey, we need to know where you are to come and kill you.
Well, the push is on here from Gen.G. They're going to get that top inner turret extremely low. Cuve was just threatening, level 16, very fearsome at this moment. Crown, though, kind of face-checking himself against 2 members, but even so, with the rest of Gen.G nearby, he is going to be safe. No collapse here from KingZone.
Minion wave really far away for the Aatrox, so actually some time going to be needed. Warning pings put down. There's a standing gold in a turret the top side, but more important for Cuve to bring down that minion wave and get himself most of the way towards a Randuin's on the way. Here's Haru, continuing to play around with the Olaf. Advantage Haru in the matchup. Advantage Gen.G in the first 28 minutes, the double Infernal. A lovely Cementer, and look at Ruler. He's gone on board a Guardian Angel. If we know anything about third item Guardian Angel, it's to close the door on an enemy team.
That's saying that even if you commit everything you've got, literally everything, to kill just me, even then, I'm not going to go down. It stacks the armor, too. Everybody on the side of Gen.G is building a hell of a lot of armor, and I mean, we said it before, at about 17 minutes, the game already looked over. We talked about this full 80 composition. Definitely that door is being shut. There's only a tiny little crack left open here for KingZone. And now with the Baron about to respawn, they're going to have an even stronger team fight this time around.
You get the theory behind KingZone's comp against Ambition, because you think about him farming and doing not much. You think, let's just beat him in the mid game and they'll never even scale up. But when Haru is playing and willing to pick Lee Sin and skill matchups very early in the game, can that door be snapped shut? You're not even feeling a cold breeze if you're Gen.G. You're saying, well, we actually outbrawled you when you were supposed to be strong in snowballing. Your snowball never happened. And now you're in a scenario where that playmaking means that a couple of kills here, this game could be over. Speaking of kills.
Oh boy, they have vision onto this guy, and Gorilla just gonna have to flash away, but the Ignite is ticking down alongside the red buff. And here's the Randuin spray. Is just desperately trying to get away, but there's the flash taunt coming on in from J.J. He is making quick work of this King Zone team. 3 of them gonna go down instantly, and the rest of them just in the base. They're diving at this point. They don't even care about this one. Gonna be going super deep past all the turrets. They get 3 kills. Now they're looking at the Baron.
Gen.G playing like they got 8 p.m. dinner reservations. It's 6:40 p.m. by the way in Korea. Lets you know they're not looking for it to go long. They're gonna bounce over. How about a Baron 2? As Crown says, wait, I actually can't get over that wall. It's not gonna be a problem though. He's gonna patrol. The Baron is gonna go down. And it feels like King Zone DragonX are gonna follow the Baron very shortly.
This is not the matchup you wanted to see for King Zone, having to go up against Gen.G, but Gen.G living true to their name, the killers of King Zone right now. The trouble bubble as the bait onto Crown was actually a bait onto Gorilla.
Could Ruler just miss one ultimate to make us feel human, because everything is connecting this game. And then Core GG comes back. He took a bit of a sleeping break and he decides, why don't I get both the carries? Takes down Peanut, takes down Prey. Nothing doing for King Zone DragonX, and BDD may not be the first man in, but he tries his best to get out. He knows there's nothing he can do.
I love Haru going so deep behind the inhibitor too. He's having a blast, I'm sure you guys can tell. The junglers, they beg their coaches for sure. Hey, can I play Lee Sin? Can I get aggressive? Please not Sejuani again. Haru just going off on this Lee Sin, and his coach gonna think twice the next time he asks him.
This game doesn't end. Does Gen.G go perhaps the most bad manners play and have everyone go Ninja Tabi Guardian Angel? Because they're going to have 3 of them.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Zoe with Guardian Angel keeping the manners going. But speaking of manners,
Cuvée gonna just dodge this ultimate engage from Gorilla, just saying, oh, hello. And now he's going 1v5, actually. Look at Prey's health, just 1 auto. Looks like 850 damage as Prey is now pretty much out of the fight. The Baron push is in effect. As Gen.G, they're looking to close the door shut this time around.
Well, the game end on this push. Ruler tanks up. He's got armor. He's fine. Haru patrolling. He has no flash, but you know he's thinking about his insect if he can pull it off.
Look at Cuvée too, just level 18 in the front line. Nobody can touch him at this point. Even Crown, he's got a fully stacked Dark Seal. If you were asking for the Guardian Angel, I'd be happy with the Magi at this point. You know, a little bit of BM, but hey, it's not so bad if you're not going to die. But Gen.G just looking for that tutorial victory, a giant push in the top side. What can King Zone do? Doesn't look like much here as Court J.J. looking for another engage, and there's the trouble bubble onto Rule, or rather Prey. He's going to be taken around by the backside, and down you go, as Gorilla was not able to block for that one. And there you have it, Cuvée going 1v3, gonna Randuin's everybody just for the effect. Finally, Gorilla hits a grand entrance for the first time, and there you go, GG. Game 1 goes to Gen.G.
Gen.G do not often style on their opposition, but they were styling all over King Zone DragonX. They seem to be the only predators on the map. Seem like helpless sheep to King Zone. 1 by 1 do they fall, making some mistakes, not respecting vision, and by the end, just getting rolled over. Gen.G have played themselves into form, their 12th game in 3 match days spread over 6 days, but they haven't missed a trick. They do not look exhausted. King Zone DragonX seem to be wearing their emotions a lot clearer than their opponent.
It's very true. This doesn't look like the final round of the gauntlet. It looks like maybe the first round as King Zone. Definitely a bit of disappointment for everybody who's watching them. Not the best draft, not the best play out there in that game. Started off well, you know, Peanut got aggressive, he took the Infernal Drake, was looking for plays in the bottom side, but then all of a sudden, everything just fell apart and Gen.G got way too far ahead.
It's gonna have to be some of the veterans, Prey, Gorilla, picking up the troops and resetting their mental for game number 3. The reverse sweep is always a possibility. We've seen them, but I don't think the betting markets will stay open for whether we'll see it today. It doesn't feel likely, Valdez.
Well, guys, let's take a look at the results here. This is about as one-sided as it gets. Somehow, Prey was able to out-damage Ruler in the fight, but it didn't matter. Take a look at that Yasuo damage. SpeedED not able to do anything in this game at all. Couldn't even do damage in the lane.
And the scale here is actually relevant. It was 5,000 gold lead at 15 minutes against the team that needed to snowball. That 5,000 gold went into Ninja Tabis, then Guardian Angels, Randuins, and there was no way back in. 4,700 damage for the Yasuo. Definitely not enough.
Well, guys, we're going to go to a break, and after that, we'll find out if Kingzone can get the Miracle Reverse Sweep. Stay with us. Welcome back, everybody. This is just Ruler dumping on Gorilla's life for the first time. It happens multiple times this game, but the same could be said for Gen.G over Kingzone. So far in this series, it's been extremely one-sided. Looking like a bit of a quicker night tonight, Papa Smithy.
5 games, 5 games, 5 games. We've had how many now? 4 best-of-5s in Korea have gone full 5 games, dating back all the way to the semifinals. So now, this is the counterpoint where it seems like Gen.G, definitely if you judge it based on the first 2 games, have with very little effort dispatched a Kingzone side who once again we were going for a, feels like monthly Kingzone check-in of where are they at. Right now their level is definitely second to a team in form like Gen.G. Went for the full AD comp and with 5,000 gold down at 15 minutes. That lets you know that they weren't going to win. And Gen.G locked it out pretty early. So now we wait to see what the special stuff is. What have they kept for backs against the wall? Because their backs aren't inched towards the wall. They are all standing vertically prone against the wall. And can Kingzone find a way to even force a 4th game, let alone a 5th?
Kingzone just once again here. It's just a little bit sloppy, right? BDD, just let him die. You have the Baron buff. Instead, he decides to go 1v5. This is kind of like that Yasuo on your team who decides to go in, even though he's 0-3 at that point. And, well, the game was pretty much over. I mean, Crown is bending space and time to kill Prey and make his life even harder in this series, even though it's been pretty much a nightmare so far for him. Gen.G eventually end this one in about 30 minutes, I believe, after getting the Baron for the last time around. And now the question is, can Kingzone reverse sweep against a team that they haven't really won too many best-of-3s or best-of-5 against? Gen.G just consistently have their number and consistently have the number of the gauntlet.
We were not to know it'd be Gen.G with Haru in the final round of the gauntlet, but that is the way the cookie is crumbled in Crown, in Haru. And speaking of ins, Kingzone DragonX gonna make a double change.
Oh boy.
Rascal and Cuz are coming in. Honestly, the last time I remember this in a gauntlet was when Samsung Galaxy would bring in Stitch and Wraith into play in last games, and they would lose those series 3-0 every time. Rascal and Cuz come in. I think Rascal is underappreciated, very reliable top laner that doesn't get a lot of time because Khan is usually on form. I don't think Khan has been the biggest problem today, but they're making a double change. It's probably a second scrim group. Maybe when the Asia Games was happening, Rascal and Cuz were combining their forces. But in Cuz, in Rascal, and now they're just searching for any victories they can.
And I know a lot of people are going to look at this and say, haha, you know, Khan and Peanut, they're in the back room, they're getting whipped. But actually, it didn't work 2 games in a row. Cuz and Rascal are both really good, right? Cuz was a big part of the reason.
Royal Rotor.
Yeah, he would come in and, you know, he'd be that guy that was waiting in the back room. He would study up. Sometimes he did that for Peanut. But either way, these guys, they are strong pro gamers, and switching it up in this manner is, I think, exactly what you have to do when you are going to go down 0-2 like this.
Just getting the update that because 2 players are coming in, working on their settings, are going to be a little bit slower. Jumping into pick and ban. Those 8 p.m. reservations, Cuvées, that's always thinking about it, saying, come on, the game needs to start.
What type of meat should I order tonight? Should we get pork or beef? What about some lamb? I mean, that's on the menu, right?
So you might know better than I. What's the real premium? It's Hanu beef or something like that, right? Yeah. If you're really bowling, which I imagine Kevin Chu and the Gen.G faithful will be doing if they run the entire gauntlet to win, what you eating, Vaz? Is it the Hanu beef?
It's the beef. You're going to an expensive beef restaurant that, you know, purebred in Korea, Korean beef. It's really high quality, very expensive. That's what you're going to be eating tonight if you're Gen.G, because you go in, you take down SKT, you take out Griffin, who are looking like the biggest opponents in this gauntlet right now, as Kingzone look a lot easier.
Get on that Gen.G Twitter later. They're going to have some cool food picks. That's my prediction if they do go on to win this particular gauntlet final. That would mean that the world champions will defend their crown in Korea. First time that has ever happened. Talk a bit about all what it means when it actually comes to be. We've been on the precipice of some young players running the Royal Road, and then Griffin did fall down after getting a lead, but 2-0 for the first time in memory. We've had a lot of 1-1s in our best of 5s. This is the 2-0 start. This is Crown power napping away. He's thinking about the chance to go back to Worlds. In how many different ways did that look unlikely when he basically didn't play in summer and with Gen.G at the first start of the gauntlet? And now, 3 sets later, this is seeming like the starting lineup for Gen.G for the foreseeable future. We already have to think about how they'll deal with their roster, because remember, they can't take 2 junglers and 2 mid laners for a 6-man roster at Worlds.
You know, honestly, you got to feel good for Crown, right? He didn't see much play at all. I mean, he was just going in there and into the studio, but he would not play. Fly would come on in, and he was having a good game, so Crown just never got a chance. But then you get into that SKT series, the best of 5. They lose game 1 with Fly and Ambition. All of a sudden, Crown comes in, then Haru comes in, and now these guys are just on a complete roll. They take out Griffin, and they're making it look easy against Kingzone. I think Crown should feel really good about himself, as should Haru. But
talking to you, Valdez, some very interesting questions. We get the update that it's doing some test games and just checking out all their settings before we can load into picks and bans. Who would you choose out of which role you take 2 of? Would it be jungle or mid lane? Because my read with how things are going is that you want to take Haru and 2 mid laners, but Haru has been ping-ponging up and down for his whole career. I think if you see Gauntlet Haru the entire Worlds, you never need Ambition, but I think that is too much of a wild card. So my read right now is that they're going to take 2 junglers and 1 mid laner, and with Fly being out of action since game 1 of the Gauntlet, he might actually be most at risk to miss Worlds.
It's definitely my feel as well. Haru, I feel like he's looking a lot better than Ambition right now, but when you're in front of a live audience of, 40,000 plus people in your home, country, the pressure is on for you, the former world champions, to try to get in there. And a guy like Ambition, who has so much, success and experience, and he's been on that stage multiple times, he might be the better pick into the jungle for those big pressure games. But I mean, you never know what the coaches are thinking. Crown looks really good, Fly not so much, but could be different in scrims.
Only mid laner that's got the most out of Haru we know about mid jungle, to me, has been Crown. It hasn't been always, but that has been the duo that's made Haru look super dynamic. And I'm a big fan of the best of Haru, and we might see the best of Haru because finally picks and bans are ready for game number 3.
Yeah, looks like we're ready to go, guys, and you will notice that Gen.G is still on the blue side. Kingzone picking red once again, just like they did in game number 1.
I would have thought with the change in roster, they would have changed to blue, because getting Khan counterpick and getting Rascal counterpick are different things, and Kingzone at their best have been top focused. This to me says, what sick pick can we get for BDD in the mid lane? The Yasuo didn't work in game number 2. Let's see if it ends up being another BDD focused draft, and can they find a Lissandra band to join the Malzahar one that Crown, I'm sure, is smirking on the inside every time he sees?
Well, you'll notice already for Gen.G, they banned Aurelia first, twice in a row. Maybe you consider leaving it up and see what Kingzone let you take, as Lissandra wasn't banned in game number 2. If Crown is comfortable into that matchup, into the melee pick of Aurelia, that's something you can consider here. They're going to ban out Camille themselves, as Rascal, a pretty good Camille player himself.
And Kuz also likes to play it from time to time.
Yeah.
Interesting adaptation. Not sure if that would have potentially been exploited by Kingzone, but they'll take it because now they get an Aatrox ban kind of out of nowhere. What does this mean for first pick? Zoe is open, the Malzahar banned away. Would Gen.G just first pick it to guarantee something safe for Crown, or do you go somewhere else? Right now, the Zoe's being hovered. I think they're going to be happy enough if the Yasuo is rolled back, and it will be a first pick on the Zoe.
Well, Crown sitting at 4-0 on the pick. He looked like, again, he was bending space and time at times in that second game. He was looking really, really confident. He wasn't doing the flashy plays and getting the kills, but he was very, very clean. So I like the pick. They are going to give that bottom lane lovers duo over to Kingzone once again. Now, what are they going to pick back? Will it just be similar?
Yep.
To game number 2 minus Aatrox? Wouldn't be surprised.
Varus is supposed to be undone by Rakan, but apparently not Ruler Varus. He is another person bending time with some of his plays. And how about Faithful Braum by his side? Varus Braum CC duo means if that grand entrance is short again, you're going to die on the back end for sure if you're Gorilla.
This time a different first pick, and they know that it's not going to be the Lysandra as Zoe has been picked here for Crown. So they're thinking about this one for BDD. The Akali will be locked in the end.
Exciting to see. We saw FLICKR on the Akali get a lead, but not be able to turn it into a game victory after going 3-0. Cool to see either BDD or I guess Rascal on the pick. Looking at Rascal's solo rank, he has 10 games in the last week of Akali, 7-3. Even though Letme is known as a big tank player, he was playing top lane Akali for RNG. So let's wait and see on the Akali. As the ban's starting to come in, clearly Gen.G agree to some degree. They're banning away Galio, a mid laner, despite the Akali being locked in. And, well, we saw one Haru Lee Sin. We're not going to see two.
I just love the fact that this pick ban can evolve to this state where Haru shows it once and they're like, nope, we're going to press the no button this time around.
I think it's an Olaf threaten as well, because that was the choice into the Olaf. So it might just be Olaf because this time around, Irelia going to be banned. They have no interest in BDD on this Akali. They're pretty sure it's going to be Rascal. Let's see if we flip the script. Rascal can display the Oran tanks. Scion open as well. See what Prey is going to grab. Looking for top lane, mid lane, and jungle. Some hybrid there, but when we saw the Lee Sin ban, it really did feel like Olaf, and now I'm going to jump out of my chair if we do finally see that Hurricane. I think he's earned it, Valdez.
Please, I mean, you saw what he could do on the Lee Sin.
Oh.
Well,
never mind.
It could be top lane. Let's see. No, never mind. Okay, Gragas and Gangplank. That's one way to kind of, sit back in your chair and say, hey, we're going to scale a bit. Cuvée has played a bunch of GP, but he's only 3-3 on the pick. This time, Haru going to play that trusted old Gragas into the jungle.
Who's getting the final pick? It looks like BDD will be on the mid lane Akali, the Cho'Gath, the fallback for both Rascal, and of course his other number in Khan. Cho'Gath versus GP. Sort of matchup where, depending on how GP takes his runes, it's been a little bit of Klepto, but mostly the defense tree, the resolve tree in recent memory. Cho'Gath can solo kill in this lane, can get leads, but if Gen.G play around Haru's pathing, which they've been so good at for this series in particular, throw in a cannon barrage and maybe that Olaf falls down and the game plan falls apart for Kingzone DragonX.
It's interesting to see Haru after in game number 1. He played the Olaf, then he played the Lee Sin, a couple of aggressive picks. I want to see what he can do on the Gragas. We saw this in the series up against Griffin. He made their life hell down in the bottom lane multiple times on red side, you have to remember. So I want to see his blue side Gragas. Where is he going to go? It's hard at times to gank the bottom lane, especially after level 6, but we'll see what opportunities he finds onto the Rift.
If Xayah Rakan can have a better result, gotta say, Varus got a stronger lane partner, the Shen out and the Braum in. Doesn't make the job any easier. Can stop those feathers with the unbreakable. Can core JJ. But Prey and Gorilla need to show up. They've got 3 teammates that do too. But somewhere has to be a carry for Kingzone. Everyone has been a bit of a passenger so far this series, and that bus is not heading towards Worlds based on the current track.
You got to get the reverse sweep. You have to win 3 games in a row against a team that you have a losing record against, but they got to start 1 game at a time here in game number 3. BDD, he's pulling all the stops out. We'll see what he can do on the Akali as we jump into game number 3.
판사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
Gen.G up against Kingzone. Gen.G just 1 game away from making it into the Korean Worlds. They can already taste the victory, but you can never count out Kingzone. They looked like the worst team in 2 games in a row, but 2 new members, some new life brought into the team. We'll see what they can do here.
My read on this double sub is it's kind of one of those strategies to counter the old adage of too many cooks spoil the broth, because Peanut and Khan are carry players with big reputations. I'm sure they all have some pretty big contributions to the comms. Now Cuz and Rascal come in, and from speaking to them and from the little bits we hear of comms, they're definitely very different. They are very much going to be about playing their role, and I imagine this really does amplify the voices of BDD, Prey, and Gorilla. So with that change, and definitely was looking very all at sea by the end of game number 2, maybe this will stop the muddy waters that so far Kingzone have lived in for this best of 5.
That is the hope, at least. Crown, he looked pretty good in the lane up against Yasuo. Of course, that early gank from the Lee Sin helped him to just get more space after level 6, but seems pretty good into the melee laners that we see BDD play so often here. I'm curious to see how he does into the Akali matchup, already getting pretty aggressive in the lane.
Olaf pinged on to the Scuttle Crab, but for now, going to be taking blue buff. Same path that Peanut took, so might actually be a surprise that you go for the same path as 2 junglers as red side Olaf in a row, but that is what's happening here. So power farming for now for Cuz. It looks exciting if it's on the mini-map because you see blinking health bars, but we know it's just standard Olaf.
Olaf's just fine. Just going to take the Scuttle here, and the Gragas actually a little bit ahead of that. Mentioned the bottom lane, Ruler trying to take an aggressive trade before he hits level 2. They are going to get behind on that HP down in the bottom lane.
Little tip, it is Predator Gragas from Haru, who's been playing Electrocute recently. He's taking Ingenious Hunter, that 4th rune from the left, which is the active item CDR. If you're going to play a Predator jungler, always take Ingenious Hunter over something like Relentless Hunter movement speed, because Boots counts as an active item, and Predator actually gets the cooldown reduction from the rune. So something that some people will know, but it's a little tip given the Predator junglers are very popular right now.
Good spot here as the junglers were just going head-to-head. Thinking about a play up on the top side, but Haru going to think twice as it is Cho'Gath, who's pretty tanky. Doran Shield, you don't want to dive this early on. But both sides being spotted out here. Cuz and Haru seemingly on the same wavelength right now.
So Tree GP just pushing actually here, and I guess given that Olaf was very conspicuously going to spend his whole time full clearing bot side, then going to buy boots, Cho'Gath can't walk up because he knows for sure his jungler's not going to be there.
There's bot side duo gonna head home together, but getting pretty aggressive down there.
Did he just use Predator to get back to the jungle? I think he did. Interesting. Gragas' Predator already on cooldown. I was noticing how fast he was, and he didn't buy Mobies, and yeah, it was just Predator back in.
I think I saw that the last time. Seems to be a pretty common thing. Cuz is going to get more aggressive in the lane, but that's not going to work.
Cho'Gath's not Maokai when it comes to gank assists, so with that reality, it's going to be a waste of Predator. Nice and fast, puts down some wards, getting some advanced vision. No early Infernal. Solo comes down from Cuz on the Olaf, like we saw, one of the bright moments for Kingzone in game number 2. Haru's going to be in vision, though, so at least for now, the vision advantage goes the way of Kingzone.
I like how he had, you know, the 2 wards here on the left side, but he was pinging it before the Gragas even got there. That's how well Cuz has an idea of exactly where this Gragas is, even before he shows himself on the wards.
Worth noting that he, of course, was watching the Game 1 and Game 2 with full vision and his coaches as he got subbed in for Game number 3. That is the advantage that subbing in a jungler can have. We'll see how Cuz looks. Kind of hard to talk about Cuz as a player. We saw quite a lot of him at MSI after not playing in the regular season in spring, and a bit of him in summer. To me, always struggled on Engage. He's not a great Engage player. If he was the only Engage on the team, I think Kingzone really struggled. I guess Longzhu Gaming we're talking about now really struggled, but early pathing and even coming in clutch in hard games, I think Cuz was very reliable, and he's on the Olaf, so Engage's not really something he's being tasked with.
Just going to hope for someone else to go in, Gorilla or Rascal. Really, Gorilla, another game where the pressure's going to be on him to make the big plays onto the squishy guys like Varus specifically. But again, we saw the way that went in game number 2, which was not very good for the Gragas. Ruler seems to have his number in a big way. So doesn't feel good if you think about that for the side of Kingzone.
If you're joining us at Spo TV for the first time in a while, the visual lag is on our end, the spectator lag we're seeing. Of course, everyone's triggered right now with all the technical problems around the world, and not to say we won't have any of those and have to launch into a Papa's Mad Life podcast, but the short jerks of animation are just because of small visual lag that's purely on our side. The players aren't being impeded.
Yeah. I mean, if we were getting little spouts of lag like that in the actual game, there would definitely be a pause, as the players don't want to have to play with that. You have to make frame-perfect decisions and plays, and if the lag comes at the wrong time, that's really going to mess up your play.
Oh, yeah, you pause first in every way, and sometimes it looks a bit silly, like the Malzahar ult with Perk's situation yesterday, but always pause. It's unfortunate. Feels a bit like rain delay in some sports, but at the end of the day, we just want to see the best team win, and right now it's been very much Gen.G. And we just don't have enough data points to know if Cuz and Rascal can right the ship, because the 3 remaining members have also had their down moments in the first 2 games.
It's an interesting little moment there where Haru was waiting in the brush with Predator ready to go and flash, but he wasn't spotted. He thought perhaps there would have been a ward brush where CoreJJ is standing, but in fact there was not at that moment. Decided not to take the chance just in case, you know, Cuz is waiting for him and gets on top of him. Speaking of which, Cuz is level 6, so that definitely can happen the next time around, rather.
Kingzone's win condition to me is farming out in the mid lane, and then who's going to side lane against Akali? Because no Akali nerfs were way back, we're 8:15, release Akali. And Akali in a side lane sees GP or Zoe and says thank you very much and picks up a kill from full. Doesn't have Ignite, so maybe needs a speck of damage on them, but side lanes should be patrolled by the Akali. We'll see the build here, if we will see a squishy build from Cuvée. We've seen that pretty reliably, actually. When Cuvée played the GP earlier in the Gauntlet, it was going into Youmuu's second and not the Sterix to try to answer an Akali. So far, Akali going CS for CS. Might be the best way for Kingzone to hit the mid-game running. And right now, Cuvée having a fun time as well.
He's farming up on the gangplank. He did have to take that grasp the resolve tree, as you were mentioning before, but either way, still getting that gold ahead. And another take on the Drake, actually, by the Olaf of Kingzone. This time it is Cuz that's able to take that one. Haru actually getting a little bit behind in the jungle at the current moment. Hasn't been able to find any ganks or plays just yet.
BD close to level 9, which is when the 5-point strike, the Q, actually has the ability to push a little bit more reliably. Now, there's some ability to use the Twilight Shroud against Zoe, but these AoE champions have a much easier time when it comes to punishing. You know the last location, the CC duration's pretty long, so still getting pretty good trades in as Crown.
He's feeling pretty good about that. There's a lot of life steal and spell vamp on the side of BDD that allows him to stay in the lane for a long time. Obviously, Crown going with a very common build, the Merc Treads first, which means that he's not doing a ton of damage. And in the end, that lane should go pretty even. Nothing really should happen in particular. What about this, though? Gorilla, he's only level 5. Do they have the damage? Yes, they do. First blood down in the bottom side. Gorilla not able to use his flash or anything to get out of that.
Haru even gets to celebrate. Throws a party cask after the kill's already in, just to celebrate. Have some beer, everyone, he says. As once again, Ruler is deadly accurate on the Chains of Corruption. And we know how squishy Rakan is. This is pre-latest Rakan nerf, but no change in squishiness. Gorilla dies instantly. Might have considered going Cleanse or Unsealed Spellbook to get a Cleanse. He didn't, and his life was fleeting.
Max Reigns there coming out of the Chains of Corruption. And yeah, it was a party cast. They had enough CC to take him down before he could hop away. Grand entrance away. So pretty unfortunate for Gorilla. He's still actually level 5 down on the bottom side.
Crown will return to mid lane. Already, wards available for CoreJJ. Already popped his quest in the mid lane. Note Haru's here, doesn't have cask still.
Not going to consider going in on Cuz, as finally Gorilla makes his way up from the bottom side. CoreJJ getting there first.
And seeing no change in game state. Cousin Rascal in. Rascal playing very, very safe and building safe too. He's actually going Sunfire Cape against GP. There's some matchups where Sunfire Cape's the right way to go. I don't like it against GP because I feel like Righteous Glory gets you the same sort of stats and also has kill pressure. Can just use the Righteous Glory to get in Vorpal Spike's range for the second or third round and get a feast kill. Sunfire Cape is just purely about push, so it's something he's felt relegated into. No attention topside. Could have gone for an early gank to blow the flash and get maybe a Rift Herald early in the game, as unfortunately the visual lag is becoming a little bit more commonplace on our end. But we can only talk about what is happening. Rascal close to a Sunfire Cape, and Gen.G close to, once again, putting Zoe and Varus together in the same lane and saying, you might want to split push with Akali, but can you do it fast enough before we take big objectives around the map?
Ruler trying to prove that he can make any support or bottom lane duo look silly on the Varus. So far, though, you know, outside of having good survivability, he's a little bit down in CS, but trying to get that play once again. Do they have the CC? This time the flash is in, and now actually Ruler is going to have to flash away from that one, but the damage goes down onto Gorilla anyway. Ruler still on the run, trying to get that stun, but it's not going to be enough. He dodges the red buff, finally gets him on the backside, but this fight is going to go heavily in the way of Gen.G as the TP comes in down to the bottom side first from the side of Cuvée. 3 for 1 down in the bottom lane to Gen.G.
And Gen.G is so much more assertive with things like teleport. Rascal never really gets into the fight after coming in. He's on full health, but can't leverage what is a huge health bar. Cuvé's brawling in the middle, gets 2 assists on the back end. It took so long to kill Ruler after the heal came through from, I believe, Core JJ on that one to keep him alive for longer. Let's watch the replay of how this all happened. Finally, a Chains of Corruption misses, so we get that answer. I'm not sure where the GP ult was thrown. It's actually just thrown to push the wave rather than... I think that might just be a mistake coming through from Cuvée. Very weird stuff. But then watch the Cho'Gath, who only has health. He can only control space. He's kind of wasted at the top, and then he's taking the long route around. Maybe he got called away.
He got hit by a trouble bubble. He was sat there for such a long time and wasn't in the fight.
And then he must have been called away because BDD couldn't get there either. 5 members get there instantly. The members of Gen.G, despite throwing away the GP, I saw it on cooldown. I was like, where the hell could it have been used? We got the answer, and now Cuvée may have to pay for it.
Crown 2 trying to go down 1v1, is trying to hop away, but a nice flash by BDD and a cleanse, but he is going to pay for it down here. Up at the top side, it was 4-on-1, so Cuvée was never going to live there. Kingzone trying to go back to what worked for them in game 1, that rotation up to the top side once again.
And with some summoners down, that might be the safest way to approach the game. They didn't want to return to bot where there was a vision disadvantage. The scene, the crime. They got Gen.G a kill lead. Ruler will take down the turret for solo gold on the bottom side. This game going into disarray a little bit. And with all the pick CC on the side of Gen.G and a little bit on the side of Kingzone, we'll see if the vision can turn into some assertive picks to actually stick the landing as the Infernal is alive.
Kind of an awkward spot here for Core JJ and Haru. The axe is going to hit him on the way out, but makes his way to safety. Looks like Prey was just farming up in the mid lane. Weren't going to go on in, but it's a very important Drake, this Infernal. It looks like Kingzone are thinking about it, but actually being called away.
Gen.G are really far away. GP was going top side. Haru just comes in to see the health bar. They didn't have any wards around.
Pretty early, as there's still a full Infernal Drake, basically.
And we've called these comps with Zoe Varus when it comes to moments like this, the Phalanx, because they just want to get in position with Gragas and Braum in front of them. Now it's much harder because you're going to take a lot of poke for the setup. Kingzone want to cause skirmish disarray. Hard to skirmish when 5 members are on top of each other.
Yeah. Cuvée versus Cuz, just shooting him in the face, but Gorilla's here looking for that engage onto Cuvée, immediately going to eat the oranges, and once again, the super squishy Rakan is just going to disappear. The cask and the knockup from the Brawl. Rascal has to flash the paddle star. He is going to get away, but that's a kill and a Drake, and will it be more? He forces that ultimate out of Olaf, and now total control given to Gen.G in the mid lane.
Feels like I'm watching 100 Thieves when I watch Gen.G, because I remember Aphromoo diving in and dying again and again on the Rakan. We're seeing that here from Gorilla as well. you have to look at these plays, and you know the call is I can get them. Maybe it's even wordless, given the implied role of the Rakan. But who's following up on his dive the moment he goes anywhere near the Infernal? Gen.G, who had already taken over the pit in a defensive formation, say thank you very much. 3 autos later, he's dead. And then Kingzone run in different directions. If I don't see Akali following the Rakan, I don't see the point of diving in.
It's true. You know, he gets the engage onto Cuvee, but Cuvee, he's got a decent amount of magic resist. He has the oranges right away. He's going to be safe. And then he stays to try to charm up multiple members when he's down on levels. He's died 2 times already. I feel like you get the engage and then you get out if you don't know that someone's going to follow you up. I agree with you. I think it's a bit of a communication issue as well, and BDD has to be in position to follow up. But at the end of the day, you got to sometimes, even if you get the good engage, you have to call it quits early when you're behind.
Well, as one of the veteran voices, he's saying let's go, and people are not following, and that is more significant than just one engage in one team fight when it says to where Kingzone is at, because he was going on a one-way trip, and if he dies for 3 kills on the Akali, it could just win the game straight up. If he goes in and no one follows, it can only go one way, and that's bad for a Kingzone team that's already at match point.
Yeah. Mentioned too many cooks. Seems like there still is too many, as just a little bit of a communication issue from the side of Kingzone. Rift Herald is going to go to Gen.G. Pretty much no one is going to challenge that. So now with the nice little lead they've brought for themselves, already 1 turret in the bottom side. They're looking for more here in the mid lane if possible.
Haru just chilling in the brush, a level ahead of the Olaf. A level ahead of the 2 Kingzone junglers this series, you would have to say. Again, Haru and Crown, not names you expect to be calling in this World's Goal, and certainly not by the final, with where Griffin were at especially. But here we are, this is the world we live in, the world where Gen.G would become only the 2nd organization after SK Telecom T1 to even make Worlds as reigning champions and defend their crown. SKT have done it twice. Here's Gen.G walking up in the mid lane. They've got that Rift Herald. The charge is not going to kill the Rift Herald. No minion wave either, so let's see what they can make happen.
Gen.G, every single time that Griffin got one of those. Okay, I'm going to hold that thought as Change of Corruption go on to Gorilla. He's going to have to grand exit from that one, but Kingzone not even trying to stop Shelly before she gets close. They're just trying to be as safe as possible. It felt like the turret going down was a foregone conclusion, so as long as nobody dies alongside it, they should be okay. Excited to get that away. You mentioned Akali in the side lane. She has the Gunblade and Merc Treads now. Let's see if BDD can do a little bit of carrying. He had a pretty good game 1. I'd say his game 2 was relatively weak. How about game 3? Maybe this is the time for BDD to show up again.
To make that happen, you need either coverage from a jungler and support, or at least some control wards, so you can actually be a pressure valve. Because if he's just chilling, basically where you see him level with the middle of the river, he's not actually forcing anything. If Zoe's able to actually take farm and then back away, and the minions never force him to actually get in range of the Akali, I think Gen.G are very, very happy with that. So BDD will put on the farm. Again, the gold hasn't completely gone out of order. It's not 5,000 gold. It's around the 2,500 gold. But for now, at least, Akali's not creating pressure. She's just forcing the 1-3-1 that Gen.G actually seem pretty adept to answer 19 minutes in.
Looking for Crown up here on the top side. Already the slow coming in. Crown forced to flash away from that one. He's going to get away with his life at least. Taru thinking about a play up on the top side with his Predator, but the Battle Star does miss.
In case you guys weren't 100% clear on the Akali animations, that was the ultimate use. Used the second dash at the end when realized the kill wasn't coming. Thought it might have just been the Assassin's Path, but got the confirmation, so that is a relevant cooldown in the side lane now that you don't have the 3 stacks like you did on previous Akali.
They got their sights set up on this last outer turret. Do Gen.G setting up 4 members there. Cuvee ready with the Cannon Barrage and TP if necessary. Just trying to control with the vision lead that they do have around the top side of the map, and that they will. Not able to take down the turret, though.
Just shadowing the Akali for now, sending 3 members there, and while that will mean some safe farm for Cho'Gath on the bot side, they don't seem too concerned with that. Cho'Gath going purely for meat shield build. He's not building any utility. Sunfire Cape into the Warmogs. Gonna hit that threshold fast, but no Righteous Glory. No team utility in the build. As Crown just being obnoxious, the best thing Zoe can do.
Seemed like he accidentally threw the trouble bubble after hopping back. Wanted to throw that right away, but either way, still that target acquisition. Super scary from the side of this team. Chains of Corruption. Just gonna say hello to Prey, who does have his Nikes on tonight.
X-Drinker thrown in just so Carly can't press all her buttons and kill Ruler instantly. Need to take any safety options you can. He's running teleport as well, so has no selfish defensive summoner. Needs CoreJJ to help out. I imagine CoreJJ and Ruler will be never parted till death in this particular game, given the setup. Kingzone going back to the Drake. Let's see if they can actually stop Gen.G getting in formation like they did last time. And in fact, Gen.G for now is saying, don't really care about a Mountain Drake. They're giving it up.
They're going to give it up, and the question is, what are they getting in trade? It looks like perhaps position on that top tower. I feel like the Mountain Drake at this point, when you're ahead, give that away, get more pressure up in the top side, as well as some more gold. And Baron Vision is going to be pretty nice for the side of Gen.G.
Going to get Baron control and a top lane out of turret, so happy enough with that one. Need a lot more time with a GP comp to actually get in position, because they don't want GP to not be there for the fight. You're deathly afraid. Vakali getting a few setups and getting a couple of kills, so safety first, the Gen.G way. They turn back, they try to square up the game, and unless Akali can actually separate the members, Gen.G will feel that in a 5v5, there's very little Kingzone can do to outplay them.
Juve silently in these side lanes is beginning to pick up some items here, going quite aggressive. Trinity Force into the Youmuu's Ghostblade. No Sterix just yet. I'm sure he'll eventually pick up something a little bit more defensive. Quite a lot of burst on the side of Kingzone with the Feast and
he's just saying
Akali.
His build is definitely, I'm just not going to be in the same lane as Akali then. I'm just going to wave clear and get out, or we're going to set it up so that Akali's in a different lane. People have been skimping on the Sterix recently, and that means higher damage, so I'm always ready for that. Speaking of higher damage, enjoy that one.
The way this is going, Gen.G and Crown just say, we can stall it out, wait until we get a couple of pokes with Zoe, and they have a lot of vision control. If they can clear out what Kingzone just put down, Crown can continue to terrorize Kingzone.
And when you have real threats in top and mid lane, you can afford to go Ruler style. And we saw this from Ruler in the Awesome Dude meta. If you guys didn't watch regular season, Ruler was the only player to never play who we call an Awesome Dude. By that we mean mages and Yasuo and other champions in the bot lane. He was purely on marksman duty, and there were many games when the power level was a little bit higher of those options, where he had to go more early, other defensive options before he could actually build true damage. Feels really bad not to have Rage Blade the Ruin King at 25 minutes as a lethal tempo Varus, but safety first, they're saying, even in the worst case scenario, you're not going to get in, kill Ruler, and get out. It's going to take a lot more time for Akali and friends.
I mean, he's banking on the idea that you mentioned Akali and friends. If he does get engaged on, he needs to have some sort of survivability and not just get one shot in that type of engage. Akali can be pretty scary like that, so I don't blame him for it. BDD still working on that Morellonomicon. Should be pretty close to that. It's only 650 to finish up that item from where he's at, so once he gets that, definitely has that burst potential on some of the squishies.
Kingzone now with the 1-3-1 wavering are saying, there's one way we can force this game. We could try starting a Baron. They have the Baron secure of a Cho'Gath. This Cuz going to take a lot of free damage here. Okay, CoreJJ. All right. We'll call that a
Is that a new strategy?
Party fissure.
Haven't really seen that one in recent times. Maybe Gen.G trying to be ahead of the meta. Everything going wide. I suppose they're distracting Kingzone as they lose a bottom inner turret. And it worked, as Juve did his job. Level 15 Gangplank, having fun down in that bottom lane, just stacking the gold.
We're not going to call that a 200 IQ fissure. It definitely was. It was a straight-up mistake. No false positives over here on the Spo TV stream. Kingzone is saying, we could take a Baron and turn from it. Rakan would find it much more predictable, and the Cho'Gath can feast, but
Ooh, BDD able to get away from that one. Follows the Shuriken, but there's the Cannon Barrage trying to force him away. They're looking now at Cuz up on the top side, but he is able to Predator his way out of the way. Just be fine, but still a lot of damage eaten here by Kingzone, and Gen.G really looking to get aggressive in their jungle.
And they're being very safe with their ultimates, though. There was a lot of respect shown for the Twilight Shroud, and now some very important cooldowns are unavailable. Roscoe and take an age, take down this turret. We'll get there eventually. But Gen.G have been a bit spooked by these fights. I think they should be very confident. They are kills, gold, and of course 2 games ahead. But they want to close it out. They want to get to those dinner reservations. And for now, Kingzone back away. And they do get the turret after all.
Yeah, the barrel a little bit late there. Just a split second from saving that one. Would have been nice to keep that gold up on the Rift, but it's okay. Gen.G still feeling the weight of their lead right now. Just about 5,000 gold ahead, but the longer this one goes, that 5,000 is not going to be as big as you would expect.
I guess the reason why they're being so safe is if you think about what Gen.G have been consistent about, it's not just Ruler always plays AD carry, it's does Ruler have his items? If so, I guess we can fight. And Ruler doesn't have his items. He has Recurve Bow and 2,000 gold on the way to a Rage Blade. Maybe with Ruler not knowing his own strength, they're trying to delay. But Kingzone on a flank are being caught out.
Spotted there on a ward, so able to just put him down. You mentioned the Rage Blade. Ruler does go back and buy it. Would be funny to see Gen.G just run at Kingzone now and say, okay, guys, we're ready to fight.
They don't run at the enemy that well, but they put down control wards, and if you face check, you die real fast. So, knowing their own power level now, and with Ruler actually being able to confidently say, I'm not going to die instantly, I have flash up, and I know my damage output. Not many people know the damage output of a Blade of the Ruin King, Recurve Bow, more Malmortius Varus, but it slides into a lot more predictability now. Now's the time where hopefully Gen.G can use their playmaking assertively, because they definitely didn't seem interested in fighting before.
What's going to be on the cards here for Gen.G? They're looking at a Cloud Drake for now. There's absolutely no vision control over here for Kingzone. I think they'd be pretty happy to just give this one away. You're not really trying to fight over that one. They're going to, you know, stand on their grave over at the Baron. Not really concerned about this Drake, so going to group up in the mid lane for now. Kingzone actually don't seem too scared of fighting as well.
Late to mention it. Kingzone DragonX have never had to qualify through the regional qualifiers. We'll hold the point.
Juve just running on in. There's not enough. Oh, what the hell was that? The cannon and the barrel. He gets a double kill, essentially by himself. Unbelievable. Is going to get feasted in the end, but Kingzone totally routed on the Rift after that one. Oh boy.
Juve took the most beloved bot lane in the world, Praying Gorilla, and it was the one man firing. Sweaty instantly double killed them. It doesn't matter that he gets feasted. He will be in their nightmares. That might be the moment that blows it open. And how about Cuz on the back end? Crown's gonna get him.
Definitely a mistake there. Crown just hunting him in the jungle, able to get 4 kills in total, as well as the Baron. I don't know, guys, this isn't the script that I read before the game. I thought this was going to be a lot more close of a series, but Gen.G are saying we are the team that deserves to be at Worlds.
That regional gauntlet buff, he already had the Storm Razor 3 item. He's sitting in a control ward. You don't think about the Gangplank dive in the back line. Watch the second, but the first bit of damage is whatever. The second barrel almost kills Prey, and then he's down. How about a shot to the heart for Gorilla? Backline's down. I don't really know why he tried to shoot the giant Cho'Gath with feast up, but it didn't matter at that point. He was just feeling frisky, like you say. And then Zoe can afford to go hunting because they'd done all the hard work. And adding on after the Blast Plant Vision, Cuz got greedy for the Krugs, and the Krugs takes him to the Death Chamber.
You know, Cuvée in the regular season here in summer, I was definitely one of the first people that was like, oh, what happened to this guy? Why is he not that great anymore? I thought he was like this huge top laner. We get to the gauntlet and I'm like, oh yeah, he's actually just a god. As I love how he sees Gorilla come over the wall and he's like, whatever, you don't do anything to me. I'll just shoot Prey in the face and then I'll take both of you down.
Here's an interesting trivia question for you and also for the chat. Has any member of the 2016 Rocks Tigers ever made it to Worlds in the Gauntlet? Have a think about that one as this siege will continue. Rox Tigers never had to go into the gauntlet.
Yeah.
So think about it. The actual truth is the only player to ever make it to Worlds via the gauntlet was, in fact, in 2014 Gorilla on Najin White Shield.
Oh.
Smeb didn't make it last year, as we well know. Kuro didn't make it last year. They both failed in the gauntlet, Samsung 2 years in a row. Now we're seeing Gen.G try to lock them out. Kingzone as a squad have never had to play in the gauntlet, neither did Rox. They always came first or second. Seems like they're not going to make it through the gauntlet today either.
This is definitely one way not to make it through the gauntlet too. You're up at the front, you're ahead of Griffin, the new big rookie team. Gen.G are kind of outside chances. Everybody's saying, oh, it's probably going to be Griffin. They get taken out by Gen.G. Kingzone seems like an even battle, and then they're getting 0-3. They're getting stomped here in the following play, in the following best of 5. So not the best look.
Looking like we're going to have those gauntlet overlords. Gen.G, they won't feel great about the title, because that, of course, means they weren't able to do it in the regular season. They still did not have a domestic victory in the 2015 onwards era of Samsung. That, of course, Cuvée is the only member that is still there from day number 1. He's only missed, I believe, 5 games in 4 years as a pro player for Samsung into KSV, into Gen.G. But when it does come to the regional goal, and when it comes to Worlds, the lack of domestic performance has never counted against Samsung Galaxy. Their record is Worlds runners-up into World Champions, about as good as you could ever ask.
I think it's about time that people get on the Gen.G hype train. You know, everybody big fans of some of the other teams here, but for me, I mean, you look at Cuvée, he's becoming a star player. Ruler, definitely top 580 carry at this point, I'd say. Crown now actually seems to be in shape. He's not only playing Malzahar, I mean, he's playing Zoe and Lissandra, for Christ's sake. So, let's see what happens in this fight, though. Cuvée, he's still pretty strong. He has a Maul at Malmortius, by the way, now. 4 items on top of this Gangplank after the Stormrazor.
Still a lot of free damage. So CoreJJ just used his ult there to disengage. That one I can get behind CoreJJ. No parties there. Walking up to this turret. Remember, 2 inhibitors are down, so Kingzone can't stay here that long.
Olaf, Cuz trying to come from behind, and then he remembers that Crown is actually still very scary on the Zoe. Can't exactly go head-to-head, especially with the exhaust that he picked up. They're just waiting. You know, this is the Gen.G way. The lanes are pushing. They're not going to dive any turrets. No reason to at this point. Gen.G can already feel like they've made it to Worlds. I'm sure that's the energy they're getting in the team booth right now.
Amazingly clutch when it mattered, and again, the lack of domestic fans is probably because they've never actually done it on domestic soil. If they win Worlds on domestic soil, maybe that'll count and get them the fan base they're looking for. Kingzone right now all at sea. 13,000, 12,000 gold behind. Feels like Gen.G gonna end this business and put Kingzone out of their misery.
You know, we were waiting. I was very excited to see what did Kingzone have prepared, and well, this is not what I was expecting. As Crown doesn't even hit the paddle star, but Prey loses all of his health anyway. Chains of Corruption used to just push them out of the way, and there's not much that Kingzone can do at all. The 3rd inhibitor is going to go down as Gen.G. They can taste that Worlds on their tongues right now.
Pushing up here, waiting for the minions. One person dies, the game ends anyway. Rascal's big, but what can he do? Doesn't seem like much.
Yeah, just a Cho'Gath at this point, and there's the engage. Finally, a good one as Crown is gonna Zhonya's at the end of it. It is Cuvée doing that damage. BDD, though, able to take him out in the back line, but look at Ruler, so much space. The flash on in comes out of Haru, and Cuvée still at full health. He's flashing in for the kills. Feathers come back, but it doesn't matter in the end. CoreJJ, the bloodthirsty support, gets in there and gets the kill, and that's gonna be it, guys. The 3-0, unless BDD can get it. No, he cannot. Gen.G are going to Worlds.
I've never seen a style Braum kill, but that just came through from CoreJG. Holy crap. Definitely watch that one back. Gen.G have done it again. They run the entire gauntlet, and they qualify as the 3rd seed coming from Korea. We only have 1 returning team. It seemed like the least likely was that the world champions will be the one returning, but they will. Congratulations to Gen.G. It's with Crown, it's with Haru, but it's a squad that will go forward to Worlds. How will it be decided? Who will be the six-man active roster? We're not to know today, but there's all smiles for Kevin Chu's men. The big investment to keep Samsung Galaxy together. Seemed like this lineup was primed to be disseminated and go in different directions. Kevin Chu came in, they became Gen.G, and now they're going back to Worlds. But on the other side, Kingzone DragonX, the favorites, the spring champions, will not go to Worlds for the first time since 2012. That was the first ever season of champions where Azubu Blaze did not qualify for Worlds. Very different format way back then. In this case, 6 years and a bit later, Kingzone DragonX unfortunately have to live with the fact that people will remember this roster that may never play another competitive game as chokers. It is harsh on a team that looked on a different level in spring season, but sadly for all their veteran status and all of their quality, they have nothing to show from the great majority of 2018.
Definitely a little bit disappointing for those guys. They felt it best at the beginning of this year, but it slowly fell apart. Something happened at MSI. Maybe it was in the food, I don't know, but either way, they were not able to make it to Worlds. And Gen.G looked good from bottom lane to mid to jungle to top. Everybody really deserving this victory, and I, for one, am very excited to see just how far they can make it in Worlds now that they've qualified.
No one takes any pleasure in calling out Kingzone DragonX, but they were the team supposed to replace SKT, dominate domestically, dominate internationally. They first lost the international spot, and then they started losing domestically. So unfortunately, SKT and Kingzone will not be at Worlds. Prey, Gorilla, FLICKR will not be at Worlds. Peanut will not be at Worlds. There's going to be some new names and some old names. The old names we remember are going to be on the side of Gen.G and, of course, KT Stars, who went to Worlds on different teams. Gen.G were really, really strong today. We knew exactly what they would do. Kingzone, we wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. Sadly for them, they haven't deserved the benefit of the doubt in recent memory.
They really have not. Gen.G, though, coming in here. Congratulations to them. It was just a really, really one-sided best of 5. This is not what I was expecting at all. I actually talked to our PD before the matches started, and he said 3-0 Gen.G. Props to him. Seems like he had a pretty good read. Core JJ also saying, hell yeah, we're going to Worlds. Me and Braum, the alpha, we are doing it.
I loved it. I love the stand beside me flash Q execution kill. Badass as hell. And Gen.G, they're on a very impressive run of form. They'll still be counted out. No one will have them, you know, top 1, top 2, top 3 favorite at Worlds, you think. They're going to be a bit of a ranked outsider. But just like Flash Wolves, because they come from the LMS, always a dark horse. Feels weird to call the world champions a dark horse, but you look domestically, they definitely deserve to be dark horses. You look just at the regional qualifier, they need to be up there in terms of favorites.
Would have to agree with you. It's not easy to defeat SKT into Griffin into Kingzone like this, but they did make it in the end. That's some incredible damage from QV, who didn't have the best record on GP before this. He was 3-3, but that was in the regular season. This is Gauntlet, and this is Worlds performing under pressure, QV. This is like a totally different person.
Write it down on pen. Next season, spring 2019, back to tanks, no more carry games for QVs, but the Worlds buff is still on.
It's very true. So guys, we're gonna go over to the interview. I'll pass it over to Jisun.
Very much. This is Jisun with your interview translation. And today we're going to be having an interview with Crown and Core JJ from Gen.G Esports. Congratulations. Thank you. It was a long journey, and it was really hard. And for your Crown, you had a little bit of rest during the season. How did this all turn out? We did struggle, However, well, I actually thought at some moment I was like, let's just give up. But I think that kind of let me put down my pressures. I felt really comfortable during the game, so I was able to perform really well. Moving on to Core JJ, I think you guys are performing so great. During the regional qualifiers, I think our teamwork became more solid. I think all the 5 players were doing so well. At Worlds, I think we'll be able to expect more from ourselves. 3 times at Worlds in a row. It's a record. But regional qualifier is not easy. It was uncomfortable for me. What was the biggest struggle? The second round against Griffin, I think it was the biggest challenge for us. The players are so good. And we have more to lose again, well, in contrast to Griffins. So I had a lot of thoughts in mind during the games. How about you, Core JJ? I agree with him. Griffin, and also, well, for me, I think SK Telecom was kind of a biggest challenge for me. I actually don't remember the games, but it was the first round of the regional qualifier. But thanks for the first victory for us. I think we were in a really good flow. But I don't want to start at the bottom spot of the tournament again. And who do you think is the biggest MVP for today? Cube gives me the eyes right now in front of me. I think, well, I disagree. I think Haru did the best. Haru was the MVP for today. Then let's bring up Haru to the stage. The regional qualifier finally ended. How do you feel? It was a clean match today, so I'm really happy. Well, you also said that you don't have a lot of experience at best of 5 matches. I think you are now experienced, right? I think you changed a lot, you improved a lot. What have you prepared? I didn't actually prepare something special. During the practice games, I was actually doing not well, and I was not the starting member for the scrims. So I was paying full attention to get better on my own, on my performances. What about you, Crown? Well, we know that Crown also did not have much chances to play in games for the split. And did you guys share any special tips together? I guess not. I guess you guys did your own by yourself so well. Haru, you were quite dominating throughout the regional qualifier. Then who will perform the best at Worlds? In Gen.G. It's all about Gen.G right now. I think Ruler. Why? Ruler became a little bit more patient. He's very solid now. Then let's bring up Ruler here. It's getting crowded. After your tears, you have so many girlfriends out here. You have improved a lot. Well, your ultimate to Rakan. You were staying very intact and you were very safe in the backline. Well, if you played Varus a lot, it's actually easy.
근데 이게 생각만 하면은 좀 할만하다 생각합니다.
Well, I think that was not a difficult task for me.
되는지는 안 되는지 모르겠는데 오늘 경기뿐만 아니라 이게 선발전 내내 경기력에 대해서
So throughout the regional qualifier, a lot of fans are hyped about your improved performance. You are getting better and better by the stages.
그래도 이 정도의 이제 완승률을 보여주고 도리어
I guess you are close to perfection.
강해질 수 있다는 거를 지금 팬들이 지금 느끼고 있거든요.
Even after you won the Worlds last year.
제가 지금 하는 플레이가 연습 때보다 훨씬 못하는.
Well, I think I am not performing as good as I do in the practice game, so I'm a little bit worried. I think I do better in the scrims.
아 근데 좀 확실히 대회 때 되니까 연습 때처럼.
Well, during the competitive matches, maybe I just get a little bit nervous, so I kind of underperform compared to the practice games. But thanks to my teammates, they are doing so well. I think we were able to pick up the victory.
이렇게 어려운 담금질을 하면서 올라왔기 때문에 어떻게 보면은 룰러 입장에서도
Throughout all the hard trainings,
좀 다른 느낌이 들 것 같아.
what are your comments about the upcoming Worlds?
좀 이제 아시안 게임 이걸 갔다 와서 되게 좀.
After the Asian Games, I think I have changed a little bit, maybe a lot.
엄청 잘해지고 싶습니다.
I think that was the momentum for me to become a better player. Wait, we have another person to bring up, you know? The big brother in the top lane, it's Cube. Maybe I have to get out of the screen, so let's a little bit move to the right. Congratulations on the win. It was a very impressive matchup. And you know, we were so hyped about you, Cube. I think we were in a really good flow and we were performing really well. It was a little bit better than normal Gen.G. The GP for game 3. I think you made a lot of super plays. How was game 3? How was the team comp? Did you feel like it's gonna be 3-0? Well, all about the draft. After the mid and late games, we knew that we were gonna win all the team fights. So after 20 minutes, I was feeling really comfortable. Was there any struggles during the games? I don't remember any. But other players mentioned the Griffin matchup and SK Telecom matchup was a big struggle. What about you, Cube? We had a lot of thoughts for the pick and bans during the previous stages. But I think today it was a little bit easier. And there were Fnatic players supporting you guys, especially Soaz. He didn't mention you as a top player. Well, Cube, you are so good at Worlds. What are your comments about his rankings? Well, I shouldn't be the best laner. I think being the best team in the world is the most important thing. But for now, we don't know which one is the best team. In Gen.G, you guys did have a lot of struggles during the summer split and also this tournament. So let's bring up the head coach Ubam Choi to have more talk about the regional qualifier. He is the most sophisticated team coach in Korea, so I felt like you were a little bit feeling nervous before going into games. Well, I was really nervous for the SK Telecom matchup. Especially, we had a lot of defeat against SK Telecom. However, after taking them down, I was feeling really confident. It was a long journey for the players. Players could have been stressed out, right? So we try to make sure to move at the same time, go to bed at the same time, have the same meal all the time, so we can really synchronize together. During the regional qualifier, I think our players are performing extra well. If they remain this performance, I think they will do well at Worlds. As always, I can say Gen.G will do well at Worlds.
때보다도 이번에 젠지의 느낌들은 한층 더 강한 느낌을
And compared to last year, I think Gen.G seemed a lot more stronger.
전반적인 그 LOLC의 그 집중이 LCK 바깥으로 좀 쏠리는 경향도 좀
And
있어요.
you know, I think LCK is letting LPL take the first place currently. It's time to give a payback, right? Last time we got defeated by China, so there were a lot of things to learn from them. So we're gonna make sure to take them down this time. And you know, they have this strong heart in their minds right now. So I hope they can remain solid till the Worlds. And Cubit said, being a best top laner does not matter. Being a best team is the most important thing. So I'm looking forward to great performance from Gen.G as a whole. And there are a lot of fans out here to support Gen.G. Is there any last message you would like to say to their fans? I'm really sorry for my fans, but you know, our players have been doing so well, so looking for some compliments for them, and also all the players, all the head coaches, and also other teams that was helping us with the practice game. I really thank you, and I'm gonna make sure to take down China this time. It was a totally one-sided match for today's last stage for the regional qualifier for Worlds, and I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you, G-Sun, for the translation. It was a very, very quick day today, guys. 38, 32, 35 minutes. Gen.G, the regional gauntlet champions 3 times in a row, and they are going to be making it to Worlds, try to get that championship for a 2nd time in a row.
And they've been looking very impressive today for sure, Valdez. Not all about today. They definitely toiled against SK Telecom, T1, and Griffin, but today seems like there were 3 teams that could potentially take down Kingzone. The form they showed today, they looked battered, they looked weathered, they looked under the weather in some ways, and now they are down and out, and who knows if we will see those 5 players or even the full squad play together again. You have to think there are going to be some changes either on the coaching or the player side for Kingzone, the beloved players right now looked shook by the end, and now we do have the defending champions back at Worlds, which is a fun narrative to enjoy. FLICKR and KT, a lot of well-known players, a lot of Worlds experience, but they are orgs that are finding themselves at the World stage for the first time for the FLICKR Freaks, and for KT, it's been a long while since 2015. Now we have Gen.G, the reigning champions, who, if they've been powering up slowly, it's been too slow. I don't understand how we didn't see them the entire regular season again and again. They've not been able to perform over 18 best-of-3s or even 1 best-of-5 in the playoffs. But the regional gauntlet is their play field 3 years in a row.
You know, it's pretty interesting for me from the interview was Coach Edgar comes up and he says, actually, we are going to take down China. It feels like this rivalry is now fully beginning to form as China is becoming a region that actually does challenge Korea from time to time, especially in 2018 over at MSI. Obviously, the big name is RNG. The big favorites right now, a lot of people are calling #1. That's another big question for me. Can any of these Korean teams or any of the other teams in Worlds take down RNG and the rest of the other Chinese teams as they get stronger as a region?
Based on Asia games, your first thought might be that Ruler and Core JJ will struggle against Uzi, and I think that's something that can't happen. If the form changes, if they're able to level up through Worlds and other scrims, that's, I think, the thing that's the biggest problem. That was the on-fire area, I think, specifically in Asia games, but that's a different thing. The communication's different, the pathing, the jungles are different. It isn't what they're used to on the side of Gen.G. And I'm just so interested to know who they bring, because the 6-man squad for both RNG and Gen.G is going to be so interesting, given the fact that right now, maybe you don't change anything from 2017, and Fly, who looked a shoo-in if they were going to make Worlds based on the fact that he started almost every game, to me at least leaps off the page as the most likely one to miss out.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. Crown comes in, and all of a sudden he's the obvious starting mid laner. But guys, we do have the promotions next week. We're not all done here in Korea. That's actually moving on to setting up next year, actually, 2019 spring.
Yep.
Will be around the corner. But we will have promotions, of course, Damwon Gaming. That's going to be on Tuesday. Damwon Gaming, Battle Comics, MVP, and BBQ going to be battling it out for just the 2 spots in LCK. Should be a fun one. It'll be 4 days, actually. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday with me and Papa. We're going to be doing that here at Spo TV.
And then Korean League of Legends is over, guys. Then it's all about Worlds. Still in Korea, but Korea vs. Korea action will be at a premium. So 4 match days, like you say, should be at the same time. Follow our Twitters. We'll get all the information out there. But going to be definitely a different level of intensity. Still going to be high stakes because LCK and Challengers Korea, there's a big drop there, of course. But not going to be quite the same action as Worlds qualification.
Yeah, that's for sure. Definitely looking forward to Worlds. It was fun to do the regional qualifiers. Now we know who's going there from Korea and China. So we'll see you next time here on the cast in Korea.